years crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die, and the odds ain't looking too pretty. But I got the feeling it's my time. I know I'm taking it now. Blood, sweat, and tears, and I never looked for salvation. I worked for this for all these years, and I wouldn't break or back down. No. I fought through all my fears and all of my frustrations. I see the light is getting clear. I know I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. Whoa.
take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Countdown to Green presented by Wendy's, and this is the Phoenix Logitech G120. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me as always, we have Blake McCandless and Alan Cavan. How are you two doing?
Oh, it's so good to be here. Look, tonight we set the field for the 4 drivers that will compete for $100,000 live right in front of us at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Blake, not 1, but 2 spots get solidified tonight. So there's a lot on the line. Even if you don't win the race, plenty to race for tonight at Phoenix.
There's a lot of opportunity tonight, Alan, but on the flip side of that, a lot of heartbreak. 8 drivers going for just 2 spots. It's going to be intense. We're going to see a lot of aggressive and desperate moves made, but at the end of it all, we'll know our 4 that will be battling for a championship live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks.
Yes, that's going to be exciting, but like you said, it's probably going to be heartbreaking for a few drivers out there. But before we get into what we can expect for tonight's race, let's take a look back at what happened at Dover.
Lights are off on the pace car as it will dive to the safety of the pit lane. And for the 24th time, Nick Ottinger will lead the field to green as we say, let's go racing from Dover Motor Speedway. And already early on, the caution flag is out for the first time here at Dover. Squeezes his car up into the barrels here as they try to get on pit lane. A couple more playoff contenders trying to make their way down to the pits.
And nicely done by the 25 of Ottinger getting on the pit road.
Trouble out on the racetrack for Michael Guest, who was running in the 3rd position, and the rest of the field making their way down to the pits. Caution is out, and it is off of turn number 4 and parked down to the inside. I believe that is Michael Cozy Jr., who has spun around here on the front straightaway. Doesn't look like he hit anything too hard, although there may be a couple of playoff contenders that were involved in this one. Trouble. That is Femi Olot into the inside wall. Malik Ray is in it as well. And again, Malik Ray was up in the 6th position.
Battle for the lead. The 25 gets to the bottom. Can the 15 stay in his quarter panel? He can't. Ottinger will clear him.
Just too strong right now is Nick Ottinger as he got the move done. They'll come around and see the white flag this time. One more trip around Dover Motor Speedway for Nick Ottinger. The former series champion looking to get back to championship form as he has a 3-car length lead at Dover into 3 and 4 for the final time. It looks like it's not going to be enough for Steven Wilson, and Nick Ottinger has secured his spot in the championship 4. He wins at Dover Motor Speedway. Nick Ottinger gets it done once again, and it has set us up here for our Championship 4 and a live look at our playoff standings. We were talking about it. Garrett Lowe, virtue of his win at Michigan, is in. Nick Ottinger is in. 8 more spots for just 2 drivers to look at. You can see how the points would line up should nobody go to victory lane right now. Steven Wilson and Jordy Lopez, as it would stand in the catbird seat, to be able to try and make that championship 4. The rest of the field, it's looking like it's going to have to be a win, or they're not going to be battling for $100,000 in 2 weeks. But of course, the relegation battle is starting to heat up as well. Look how many drivers, 4 drivers within single digits of that top 20 cut line. I know we're going to be looking at our playoff drivers a lot tonight, Alan, but Keegan Leahy Tyler Gary, Wyatt Tinsley, Corey Vincent. They have an awful lot on the line as well. He could add Zach Novak, Dylan Alt, and even Kevin King, I think, at this point into that fight to try and secure their spot into the 2024 Coke Series.
So much talent. We're talking former champions on the verge of relegation there. Let's take a look at the team standings as well. Remember, this goes through the end of the finale at Homestead. You can see all the teams above that yellow line still mathematically in it to win the team championship, but the top 4 is what you want to look at. They are all still within one race. So much can change in just one race. We have 2 remaining. Those top 4, one race separates them from the top, and a team championship comes with a little money, of course, comes with the trophy, and comes with a lot of pride. So much to race for tonight as we race through Homestead.
A lot of money, a lot of pride, and we've been talking about Nick Ottinger. So, Alan, you got a chance to catch up with William Byron, of course, Nick Ottinger's team, the owner behind the team. So let's take a look at what he had to say about the driver himself.
Nick has always been really good at Dover, so I'm not really surprised how good he ran there, qualified on the pole, good strategy, won the race. I mean, that's, I think the next test will be the championship race and getting ready for that, and being able to put the best car together that he can. I've been bugging him for setups on the iRacing side to prepare myself for the races coming up. So he's been super helpful with that, just giving me setups to drive and give me something to work with to work with at Darlington and Bristol and places like that. So it's cool. Like, we get to text during the week, and he can help me as well.
I love this crossover that we continue to see between iRacing and the real world on Sundays. Look, when I did that interview, that was at NASCAR Playoff Media Day. William Byron is going for a championship of his own in the Cup Series. And what is he doing? He is in touch with his sim driver, Nick Ottinger, trying to get setups, obviously congratulating him on the win in Dover. But I love that William Byron and Nick Ottinger are both going for their respective championships, and it sounds like they're both helping out each other. That crossover continues to grow and only grows iRacing more and more every time we hear it. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too, Alan. But let's talk about Dover. We know Nick Ottinger won, but let's talk about your overall thoughts, Blake, coming out of that race.
Well, I spent many of 8 fixed races trailing that number 24 car, but at least coming out of Dover, the one thing that really stuck out to me, Camille, was the amount of playoff drivers that we saw really rise to the occasion. And it didn't really look like that was going to happen early on in the night. We saw a lot of drivers with that red number that you could see here on the blimp cam struggling a little bit and further back in the pack. But as we moved through this race, the playoff drivers rose to the occasion. We talk about the pressure, Alan. Can these drivers handle it when it's all on the line? I would say that yes, they can at Dover. The problem is there wasn't a lot of points to be made up after all that happened at Michigan, Alan. So that's probably the one thing going into tonight. It set up a lot of must-win scenarios for many of our drivers further down the grid.
And when the points aren't there, you said it, it's all about the victory. And that's what I think about when I think of Dover. Winning changed the entire season for Nick Ottinger. That's the system, yes, of course. But Nick Ottinger, former champ, so good, but needed that victory to propel him at that shot to $100,000. One win, one position changed everything for him. A second place doesn't necessarily get it done, but the fact that he went out there and won, that's the system. That's the mission tonight for another driver to go out there and secure his spot for the $100,000. Nick Ottinger did it when it counted most in Dover.
Yes, Nick Ottinger, we're all thinking of him, but there's another driver as well. Steven Wilson, I think, is making some waves, and we actually got a chance to check up on his team and his fellow driver, Dylan Duvall. So let's take a look at the Stewart-Haas drivers.
We had a really good year last year. We won the team championship, which was definitely exciting. Honestly, just looking to build on that. Like I said, we had a great year. Really excited for what me and my teammate Steven can do this year, and I think we have a shot to run it back and get another title.
I came back to Stewart-Haas again this year because they got great partners in Smithfield. I've loved working with them this year and last year. It's just a really good place to be, and I wanted to be back.
Yeah, it's meant the world to me to be with Stewart-Haas Esports for 4 years now. They picked me up in 2020, and it was my first ever free agency, and when they contacted me, I was kind of in disbelief because they were new to the series and it's such a big name. It's just like something you want to be a part of. And to be able to be there now for 4 years, I feel like I've really helped the team as a whole grow. And then it's awesome to see that flourish into what it's become today with us getting the team championship last year. That accomplishment there with the team championship meant more to me personally than like my own personal statistics from like the previous season.
I didn't think I would rise up this quickly. I took a pretty quick jump. I ran for Contender Series, tried to make Coke in my first year, and I was close to making it but didn't, and then I ended up not making it for another 3 years. But now that I'm at the top, it's just really special to be here racing with all these guys and having these cool experiences with all these guys I've raced for the last 6 years. This year I'm hoping to be on top, win the championship. It was close last year, but I think I can do it a little better this year.
Being Canadian in the series it means a lot. When I got that first win in 2016 at Indianapolis, just like the outreach I got from Canadians on the service, and it was just an awesome experience to see how much that meant for everyone to see like a Canadian win at this level. And Keegan, who is also from Halifax, he came in and kind of carried the banner for the last few years, which is awesome. It's kind of crazy like how big of a country Canada is, and then we have 2 of us from the same city and a relatively small city at that. So it's pretty awesome to see what we've been able to do and like how much it means to other Canadians to see.
My most memorable moment in the series was definitely the trip to the Hall of Fame last year. It was just a really cool experience to be part of the first time it's happened, and it was just cool to meet everyone who's part of the series and meeting a bunch of fans who came out, and it was really special. It means a lot to race with my family right there next to me. They're the biggest supporters that I have, and I love them all very much. So the fact that they pretty much all came down and made the trip to watch me race is pretty special, and hopefully we can do it again this year. Some of the lessons I learned last year is just you got to take what you can get. You just got to maximize your points even if you're not going to win a race, and don't slide through your pit stall in the championship race would be a key one.
My biggest rival is an easy one, definitely be Garrett Maines. We had some on-track incidents this past season and in the past, and frankly, I just don't really get along with them and don't really care to. So, definitely Garrett Maines is an easy one for me. I mean, I think you have to look at my teammate at Stewart-Haas Esports, Steven. He, last year was his second year in the series, and he almost went and won the championship. I mean, I think of myself, and I know how much I grow every year, and his growth is just going to be that much more. So, I mean, series should watch out, because I definitely think Steven's one everyone's going to have to be watching out for this year.
It would mean a lot to win the championship. It's pretty much what we're all here to work for. So if you pass that last step and get that championship, that's pretty much all you can get in the series, and you can just be happy that you have one, and it'll be a really cool moment. It's really special, and get to share it with friends and family. My secret to victory is Smithfield bacon, and eating that every morning, and honking the pig every race.
Great to see that he's fueling up for these races, and I can't really argue with it. It's gone pretty well for him. I know he's a big Taylor Swift fan that he listens to during the races as well. He even did that on stage last year, and if all things line up like they appear to be, he may be back on that stage in 2 weeks.
Yeah, got to get it done. Such a strong team, though. Stewart-Haas Racing on the esports side of it as well. They get a lot of attention and just a lot of effort behind their social game and everything. Just a great team altogether. I love to interact with all of them.
Yeah, I'm keeping fueled as well as we are, with our Wendy's. But yeah, I'm actually curious now. I feel like we should ask Steven Wilson if he actually went to see Taylor Swift at her concert. I'm curious. But you know what I like to see? I like to see all your rigs at home because it is time for the Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. This is, like I said, where we get to see your setups at home. Take us through the first one, Alan.
Yeah, this is our boy Randy. He said he surprised his wife with her own sim rig for her birthday. The couple that sim races together always stays together. Look at nice purple bucket seat there, straightforward wheel, pedals, monitor. Also that cool guitar in the background, some vintage IMSA die casts on the wall. Great setup. Again, Randy doing that for his wife. What a guy, Randy.
So sweet.
All right, really like this. And we get a nice little cockpit shot as well of this rig, but open wheel set that you can see, 2 sets of button boxes, so you got everything you need right there. The light up ones on the right and another huge stack of button ups on the left. I mean, this is a really nice view, especially kind of open wheel. It fits really well together.
You can't go wrong, especially with that fan that they snuck in right under the monitor there. Our next one's James King, Alan.
Yeah, this is a good use of space here. This is personal rig he has right next to his bed. You can see a little cozy, a little cramped, but that just means he's doing what he has to. He's got his vacuum right behind him, keeping everything nice and clean. Also another member, if you look there quickly, of the Camelback Sim Rig Club. So I don't know if he's doing some endurance racing 24 hours, but you need that water, you need some thirst. You have the Camelback for you.
Hydrated and ready to go, and so is Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly's got a simple little setup here. Again, reminds me of kind of what I used to grow up sim racing on. You got your pedals on the floor, you got your wheels strapped to just what obviously is a work desk, but very practical, very convenient. Also can take all that off and use it as a desktop as well. So that's kind of what I like to see. Just very simple, nothing too fancy, but you can get it done with just about anything.
Yeah, or sometimes you do it all yourself. Check out Keith's here. He built his whole table just for his racing setup in his basement. That's just a big sheet of plywood there, so you can bolt the wheel right down to the desk with no worries. I do worry about the cord management. Clearly, Keith, you know what you're doing. You can do a lot of good stuff. You can clean up the cords just a little bit, Keith.
You may worry about the cord management, but right there we got some paper towel. If you
you spill.
Go, it's right.
All right, this is
our next one's for Michael.
Yeah, this is about as well-rounded as we have here. You got the racing rig, you got the flight sim rig that's going on, I believe. You had the TV for, what looks like you got an N64 there. I'm sure perhaps World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is playing on there as well. Comfy chair to do it all with. You could scoot over just about anywhere to do it. So I got to say, well-rounded, not just a rig, but an entire room. It's a really nice setup, Michael. So well done on that.
This is a nice one, but you know what? Like those consoles, those old school consoles, you gotta love it. And you know what? If you zoom in real close, I think that's GoldenEye in there.
Ooh,
Slappers only, the only way to go.
The big heads, the paintballs, good stuff.
Remember to tag us in all of your rig pictures because we love to see them here. And speaking of rigs, these are pretty sweet rigs that we have with the Kansas City Pioneers and Bubba Wallace and Anthony Alfredo right here. Look at these.
Yeah, that was at the Kansas Speedway over the weekend. The Cup race was there, so we got to interact. Again, tie-in once again, eNASCAR with the Cup Series drivers, Xfinity Series drivers. Pretty cool, Camille.
We love these real-world shenanigans coming right to us. And you know what? Why don't we just keep it going, Alan?
Yeah, a bunch of our Coca-Cola Series drivers have been up to something cool. This was this summer. Michael Conti got a test session in a super modified at Oswego Speedway up in Western New York. This is one of the craziest tracks. Look at that wall. If you could see just the concrete wall down there that you could easily hit, wreck your car. Super modified is so unique to the racing culture up in the Northeast there. The walls there on the outside is this big foam. So yeah, not a lot of race cars out there, but for Michael Conti to get a real world test, he deserved one, going out on top of the Coca-Cola Series. Again, he's retiring this year. So cool opportunity for him. I hope he gets more.
Certainly so, and it's not just Michael. We've had a lot of drivers who have had so much success in the real-world side of things, including Garrett Lowe, locked into our Championship 4. He won his first late-model race in a big car at Lonesome Pine Speedway over the weekend in Virginia. It has been an incredible couple of months, really, for Garrett Lowe on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing side of things, but you can see that battle for the win. He's that car down on the bottom in the 0-6, and was able to pull away from the rest of the field. You could see how much of a lead they had. Gets to climb out and win a late model race as well. So Garrett, the senior student at UNC Charlotte, mechanical engineering, doing some great things on the world side of things as well.
Doing some great things, yeah. I feel like at first glance, you may just thought that was a 2-driver race. I know. You did good. You did good, Garrett. Let's talk about tonight's race, though, because there is a lot, with the points coming in for these drivers. A lot is on the line, a lot of tension. And you know what? We got to download some of the trends going into Phoenix. So let's talk about it, Alan.
Yeah, if you believe in numbers, you got to look at the trends, especially at Phoenix, where we're going tonight. This is the 10th race at the track in the Coke Series. Now, it's also the first appearance in the playoffs. I know what you're saying. Last year was the championship race, so we're counting this as the playoffs. This race helps get you to the championship race, so good for Phoenix tonight. 6 drivers have earned their first series win at Phoenix, including some of our active Coke Series drivers. Kevin King, Nick Ottinger, Bobby Zielinski, Keegan Leahy all got win number 1 at this track tonight. Only one driver, though, is a repeat winner at Phoenix. Keegan Leahy won there in 2018, again for his first win, and then he beat all the playoff drivers last year and won there in the final race of the season. 3 of our playoff drivers have won here previously. Nick Ottinger in 2012, Michael Conti in 2013, Bobby Zielinski in 2017. 2 of those drivers need another win tonight. And a Phoenix race winner has never started worse than 11th. Think about that for qualifying. The average starting position of the winner, 4th place. So look toward those first few rows tonight if you want to pick a winner before we drop the green flag. And a driver has never won Phoenix Raceway the same year they won the Coke Series Championship. Now, Blake, I know you're a competitor. You hear a stat like that. Do you want to win Phoenix tonight? Does that mean you're not going to win the championship? Do you believe in this numerology stuff?
Yes, I want to win tonight. I don't care what the history is. Get me a win tonight. Doesn't mean anything when you get to Homestead. So, yes, especially Conti, Zielinski, a couple of those drivers, they need a win or they're not making it. So, of course, I'm a driver. I want to win.
I tend to agree with you. Give me all the trophies, Camille.
Yeah.
Breaking all of the trends for any win. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's talk about the track itself. Let's go through the track analysis, Blake.
This is a racetrack I know very well, climbing up through the Road to Pro ladder, but we have settled here at Phoenix Raceway. Was the site of our championship race last year and is going to put on one incredible show tonight. Of course, getting off of turn 4 to the start-finish line, you're going to see these restarts down in the dogleg. That's where things are going to get hectic and wild, and how wide this racetrack is going to widen out in turns 1 and 2 for these drivers to try and make moves on the 10 to 11 degrees of banking, over and down to 3 and 4. More straightforward at that end of the racetrack. And of course, last year's winner, Keegan Leahy, looking to try and stay above that relegation line, but also he wasn't a championship competitor when Casey Kerwin went on to win his championship last season.
All right. Well, we're talking about, it's coming down. This is the last race before the playoffs.
Oh.
And, between us 3, before the championship, sorry, but for us 3, I feel like the competition has been intense between us 3 because we like to, talk about our picks. It's
Close.
just unfortunate that this season someone's been kind of taken home.
Yeah, 379 points, that must be a record. I don't know what has gone so well for me this year, but I like it.
Hey, I ended last year at 429. So I'm just saying, you may not. I think I set a record. So just saying. Well, let's talk about our picks for tonight's race, Blake.
I'm going to keep it simple for Phoenix tonight. He was the fastest car in Phoenix last year. He was the fastest car at Dover, but before he got a questionable penalty to start that race, he was flying up through the field, but never had a chance to showcase it. I'm going with Bobby Zielinski. Back is up against the wall. I think he has the speed, the execution to get it done tonight and find himself in the championship 4 yet again here in 2023.
Nice, and I like that he needs a win, but I'm going with what I know. I'm going with drivers that have had the proven success at Phoenix. From Matthews, North Carolina, the driver that won the title at Phoenix last year. No, he didn't get the win, but we know he knows how to get around this track. Casey Kerwin, still the defending champ. If he gets a win tonight, he gets to defend that title at the NASCAR Hall of Fame once again.
All right, well, I'm going with Mr. Steven Wilson. And I feel like that's how we should do these picks, everyone. We need to bring the theatrics. No, but I'm really cheering him on for this one, and I think that he's going to bring it home. So we're going to just have to wait and see who is going to round out the championship as we go into the finals, which, by the way, last year we were able to be in person for the finals, and we're happy to say that we are back at the NASCAR Hall of Fame to celebrate the championship race in a couple of weeks. How are you two feeling about that? Because last year it was a blast.
It was awesome. We're all going to be together again. Dale Earnhardt Jr. there. NASCAR Cup Series drivers were there. It's going to be bigger and better than it was last year. Such a unique experience, Blake, especially you know it from the competition side. This isn't a sport that you do necessarily with an audience, maybe ever. And these the four drivers that will go on to compete for the $100,000, they have to adapt to this. Some of them have that experience. A lot of them won't. It was a neat experience.
It really was. There's a lot of pressure in running in this series week to week, but there's nothing like having to do it in a place you're unfamiliar with public, where you have your headset on and you can hear the crowd reacting to everything that's going on. It's so unique talking to Casey, Bobby, Steven, all these guys that were able to participate in this race last year. An unforgettable experience, and we'll see. We may have an entirely new crop of drivers that end up competing for the championship this season. I wonder if we'll see a couple of repeat drivers that are able to handle that pressure. But again, very cool experience. If you're able to come out to Charlotte in 2 weeks, can't recommend it enough. It's going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure.
And Camille, I remember you talking to the family of a lot of the competitors, and I just think about that. This isn't like stick and ball sports where your family gets to sit in the bleachers and cheer you on all the time. That's what makes it really so great. Seeing Steven Wilson's family, I remember you talking with them, Camille. That was such a neat experience, and to see them be there for him, I love that. The hug that Casey Kerwin got from his dad, it only happens once a year.
Yeah, it is really nice to see the family's reaction, the community coming together, seeing the whole crew that helps put these shows together week after week, and then coming to the live show, and then even seeing you, Alan, and Blake in your elements, Evan, and, everyone that just comes together. It's
that
just
trophy
really nice.
is huge, too. That trophy is look at that thing. It's a huge trophy.
See, I'm 5'6", and I didn't realize how tall that trophy was actually. I didn't also realize how tall Alan is in person, but I learned that as well. My favorite thing about the live finals, though, was definitely the marching band that was outside greeting all the drivers as you came in. That was really sweet.
Yeah, they turned it on last year. That was percussion. That is the marching band for the Carolina
Panthers
Panthers. Yeah, Panthers drumline. Good stuff.
Well, it has come down to this race. A lot is on the line, as you two mentioned throughout the show. What do you think is going really through these drivers' head as they're getting ready to go over that line?
Qualify. I think that's the one thing, talking to many of these drivers pre-race, was how important track position was going to be. We know with Phoenix, with these next-gen cars, that having that clean air, having that track position is going to be so important. So going into this race, you can be really fast in the race, but if you don't have the track position to start with, it's going to be really difficult to overcome. So I know that's what was on nearly every single driver's minds before loading up for this one.
And a little breaking news. You talk about track position, Blake. Nick Ottinger sitting on the pole tonight. He's already qualified for the $100,000. If he wins tonight, think of it as a little strategy-wise, Camille, that he keeps another one of his potential really good competitors out of that final four, the four drivers who will compete for the championship next week. So Nick Ottinger still has plenty to win and maybe keep someone out that he doesn't want to race at Homestead.
Oh, well, we're going to have to wait and see, because you know what? The race is starting right after this break. Thank you for watching Countdown to Green, presented by Wendy's. And from all of us here, we cannot wait to see you in person for the championship.
I need to try it first.
Our family stories are your family stories, except with more confetti.
Relive racing history with a walk along Glory Road, or try your hand at our fan favorite racing simulator or pit crew challenge. Feel the passion and thrill of racing with stories and artifacts from the legends who shaped the sport in the Hall of Honor and Heritage Speedway.
Visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte for the ultimate outing. NASCAR Hall of Fame, this is our sport. This is our house.
It's official. Caleb Williams is transferring.
My man.
To Wendy's for the new loaded nacho cheeseburger.
Everybody say nacho!
Nacho! It's melty, it's crunchy, and it's queso-y. Easiest choice I've ever made. Of course, he's not the only one transferring.
Hey-o! Stable's got room for 2 quarterbacks.
Sorry, and who are you?
Matt Leinart, quarterback, national champion.
Afraid that doesn't ring a bell.
For the full nacho experience from all 4 sides.
Square's the beef!
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new loaded nacho cheeseburger.
Pay attention to these faces. Fresh, grizzled, doesn't matter.
Don't get your checker flag here, man.
They're coming for you. This is the face of hunger, grit, victory.
When will it be his moment?
They'll smile in your face, then take your place. And laugh all the way to victory lane. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoffs.
This is our series, where the stakes are always higher, where virtual meets reality. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Yeah, look at my shine with it though. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way up the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like ball. Time's right, and I know the seats walking in a limelight. Promise you won't wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high tide. Might drown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you wanna play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
The road to $300,000 is down to its penultimate round. We're tonight from iRacing's virtual Phoenix Raceway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome back to the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. This is the Logitech G120. And as always, happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us here on the iRacing Esports Network. Alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Blake McCandless and Steve Letarte in the booth. And Blake, it was just a week ago where we added another name to the grid of the championship for Nick Ottinger's one of the hottest drivers in this series right now, and he punched his ticket with a win at the Monster Mile.
He was able to do that, and again, the task becomes for the rest of these drivers. Again, we're going to drop 6. We're going to take 2. So how many drivers do we have that are needing that win? It's about 3 or 4 that are really in a must-win scenario. So we're going to see desperate moves, strategy calls, because in all intents and purposes, Evan, it's win or go home for many of our championship competitors.
Yeah, last time, Steve, we saw Phoenix Raceway, it was the championship race last year, and math may not be my strong suit, but there's 8 drivers looking for 2 spots. It's a lot of pressure on the line here tonight.
A lot of pressure at a very difficult racetrack. 2 ends very different, one very flat, one has some banking. This is the championship location in the NASCAR Cup Series that we'll be at in about 8 weeks from now. But for this eNASCAR group to have it the penultimate race, this last opportunity, I think is super fitting and super challenging, to say the least.
It is going to be a 100-lap dash tonight. If we see one of those playoff drivers get a win, it would mean 1 spot available on points. If we see a repeat winner or a non-playoff winner, Blake, it could be 2. So the drivers on that bubble don't even know precisely what that point scenario is going to look like.
No, they don't. And that's what makes tonight so difficult. And especially when we get to look at this grid and where everybody qualified, we'll get a better picture of how these drivers are going to approach this race tonight. Do you try to hope to be there at the end? Do you go after points? Or are you going to have to throw a Hail Mary? That's something we're about to find out.
Qualifying has wrapped up and the cars are about to hit the track. Let's get ready for the final race of the round of 10.
Welcome everyone to the final preliminary round of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. Last round at Dover, Nick Ottinger tamed the Monster Mile in dominating fashion, which only leaves 2 final tickets to the flight to Charlotte. Who will be joining Garrett Lowe and Nick Ottinger to fight for a championship at the NASCAR Hall of Fame? Ladies and gentlemen, these are your eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoff contenders. Locking himself into the Final Four in Michigan, it's the driver of the Jim Beaver Esports number 15 Ford Mustang. From Gastonia, North Carolina, it's Garrett Lowe. From flying under the radar in Michigan to flying into victory lane in Dover, in the number 25 William Byron Esports Chevrolet from Claremont, North Carolina, it's your 2020 champion, the Audi boss, Nick Ottinger. He's the first driver in on points and is no stranger to the Final Four. From Iowa City, Iowa, is the driver of the number 10 Stewart-Haas Esports Ford Mustang, Steven Wilson. Just above the cut line, driving the number 3 Team Dillon Esports Chevrolet out of Bayonne, New Jersey, trying to race for a championship, it's Jordy Lopez. The first driver from the outside looking in from Brownsburg, Indiana, driving the number 45 2311 Toyota, trying to make something happen tonight, it's Michael Guest. Your 2022 champion still trying to find a way into that Final Four in the number 95 XZ Chevrolet Camaro from Matthews, North Carolina, it's Casey Kerwin. Driving the number 33 Team Dillon Esports Chevrolet from Warrenton, Virginia, trying to compete for a championship in his rookie season, it's Tucker Minter. From Fresno, California, driving the number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Fighting for a place in the Final Four, it's Bobby Z, Bobby Zelensky. Driver of the number 46 Chevrolet for Rise Esports from Midland, North Carolina. A clutch win got him in. He's going to have to do it again. It's Jimmy Mullis. In the number 8 Junior Motorsports Camaro from Charlotte, North Carolina, trying to end the It's Been Great tour with one last encore, it's 2014 champion Michael Conti. The playoff battle is hitting a fever pitch, and it's only going to get hotter under the desert sun. Who is going to be joining Garrett Lowe and Nick Ottinger at Homestead? Who will be your championship for? We are about to find out as round number 3 of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs starts now.
With a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame on the line, we go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And for the 5th time in the last 8 races, Nick Ottinger is on pole. His William Byron Esports Chevrolet going to start alongside the RFK Racing 17 of Caden Honeycutt in second. Back on row number 2, Michael Cozy Jr. for Front Row Motorsports, going to be alongside the Team Dillon Esports 33 of Tucker Minter. Row number 3 tonight to the inside in P5, the Williams Esports 51 of Donovan Strauss and the Joe Gibbs Racing 18 of Bobby Zelensky, looking to make it to yet another championship 4. On row 4, Vicente Salas of the Williams Esports 55 and the FGR Excel 14 of Joey Brown. Look to play spoiler tonight. So does Parker White. He's on the inside of row 5 in his Tony Kadani Esports 11. And Steven Wilson, a lot to gain tonight. He's on the outside of the top 10 in his Stewart-Haas 10 car.
Certainly the case for Steven Wilson back in 11th. It's going to be his teammate in Dylan Duval, who we caught up with earlier for Stewart-Haas Esports, and Keegan Leahy trying to retain his spot. He won at this racetrack a year ago. Starting 13th tonight, the Pittsburgh Knights, it'll be Corey Vincent with Timmy Holmes for RFK Racing lining up in the 14th position. 15th on back will go to Femi Olot for the Charlotte Phoenix, along with his teammate in Graham Bolin, who starts the outside of row 8. Back in row 9, you'll see this driver who won a championship here a year ago for XZ and Casey Kerwin. Michael Conti, also in a must-win situation tonight for Junior Motorsports. He'll go for 18th. Rolling off 19th tonight will be his teammate in Kevin King, along with Steve's driver and Brandon McKissick, who rounds out your top 20.
Halfway home, let's look at the number 21 spot to the inside of row 11. The Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku 46 of Jimmy Mullis, and the second at the Team Dillon cars. That's the 33 of Jordy Lopez driving tonight for Austin Dillon's team. Row number 12 will go to the inside, the number 20 Machida Wyatt Tinsley for the Kansas City Pioneers, and Alan DeBose in the 34 again for Front Row Motorsports. Lucky number 13 tonight, we'll see the 77 Ryan Doucette, his Pittsburgh Knight 77, along the 2311-45 of Michael Guest. Remember that team, the one headed by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. Calling about in the E-Racer 69, that's the Parker Kligerman Landon Castle-led group. He's alongside the X-Set 4 of Ryan Luza to the outside of row 14. And on the inside, P29 tonight goes to the Jim Beaver Esports 15 of Garrett Lowe. And then in 30th, it's the Elliott Sadler number 1 of Derek Bordeaux.
Starting in 31st tonight, number 42 for Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle is Colin Keister. Tyler Gary for Tony Kanaan. He'll go from the 32nd starting spot tonight. 33rd is Cody Bias for Elliott Sadler Esports. 34th is Zach Novak representing Rise Esports in that number 75 car. Starting 37th tonight will be Dylan All, or excuse me, 35th. 36th will be Derek Justice, who we talked about earlier was out with the Kansas City Pioneers in Kansas this weekend. Daniel Falkingham goes from the inside of row 19 for JGR. Malik Ray will start on the outside in the 38th spot for Jim Beaver Esports. Matt Busa will round out your field and make up your 39 car grid for tonight's race at Phoenix.
Let's look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Caden Honeycutt will start from the outside of the front row in second. He's trying to play spoiler tonight. Steve, let's see if you can dial him up.
Hey, Caden, great qualifying effort outside the front row. What is the keys to the race here at Phoenix?
Man, honestly, I don't really know. Last year I didn't really put much effort in this race last year, considering I wasn't in the championship for the top 20 in points. So, it's going to be tough racing people like Nick and Tucker. I want to give these playoff guys some respect and make sure that I don't mess up any of their playoff chances to go run for championships. So, honestly, there's going to be one pit stop if it goes green about lap 60 or 65. I would accept people to come down. And I feel like we got good race pace. I really put a lot of effort into this week for the first time I've been able to in a while. And really looking forward to this, man. I feel like we got a great race car. Appreciate Vicente and Dave for all the work they've put in this year. And enjoy it, guys. It's going to be a great one. And hopefully we can play spoilers at the end of this race.
Well, if the paint scheme does everything for you, then you should be fine, because that 17 out of RFK has been on fire in the real world. Let's see how it does in the eNASCAR world. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
He's got a good starting spot on the outside of the front row, Steve. Let's take a look at our race analysis as well, presented by Wendy's.
Yeah, 120 laps, pit road speed 45 miles per hour. It takes a little over 30 seconds to run down pit lane. 3 sets of tires, fuel window 55 to 60 laps. And it's an interesting layout, and you see it right away. The pace car kind of pulls off at really the beginning of the backstretch. They roll the whole backstretch. Now this bank 3 and 4 with a very early green flag.
The field is in control of Nick Ottinger. There is 2 tickets left to the championship on the line. Let's go racing at Phoenix. They're going to go down the dog leg. First time into turn 1, 4 wide in second, now 3 wide as Ottinger breaks away, and the 17 of Honeycutt way up to the outside wall. It's Cozy in the middle, Strauss on the bottom as they cycle through and down the back straightaway for the first time. Still 3 wide in the middle of the top 10.
So wondering how aggressive these drivers were going to get on this initial start, how drivers were going to move up. Tucker Minter already taking advantage of that early on. Again, he got his win at Daytona as well as Charlotte, and you can see trying to make some moves to get up to the top. Again, he's a driver that is pretty much in a must-win scenario. Not necessarily going to be the case, but if any of the other playoff drivers are running well tonight, he may just need that, and already trying to get up and move into third over Donovan Strauss and going to be able to do just that. So a solid start for the number 33, who of all the playoff contenders that are not locked in is up front right now.
You're going to see this time and time again, cutting the dog leg on the front stretch. Very simple to do, very difficult to rejoin. I think that's the biggest challenge. As you go down that dog leg, you kind of lose the cars to your right, and on the left-hand side of the scoring pylon, you can see the red playoff cars highlighted to keep track of where they are on the track. in the running order.
And remember, Nick Ottinger, courtesy of that race win a week ago, he's already locked in. Same with Garrett Lowe, who's not in the top 20 at the moment, so you don't see his name there. So he's effectively his own category, right? You can see the live points on the right-hand side. The 15's through. The 25 is through. The bubble battle right now between the 3 and the 45. This is all assuming that Ottinger or a non-playoff car wins the race. If any of those drivers, 3rd through 10th, win, it would take up one of those spots on points. So you're not necessarily safe even if you're in currently. We'll be watching those live points all night long. Again, Ottinger was able to get away with the race lead. You can see he holds about 3 car lengths right now atop that 17 Honeycutt. Drivers inside of the top 5 getting a little bit of real estate to play with until you get back here in the midfield. P14 is where a lot of the fun is, and it includes Casey Kerwin and Michael Conti, 2 drivers looking for a big night here at Phoenix.
That they are, and Conti kind of in every single race that he's been put in this position. He started 19th, trying to make his way up through the field. He's already gained a handful of spots or so from the drop of the green flag, very much like so many races that we've seen. And honestly, the same thing from Casey Kerwin in the 95, has already moved up several positions to start this race. And you know, Evan, this is something, especially when you talk about in Kerwin's case or Steven Wilson's, that I thought those Championship 4 drivers really had a huge advantage from last season approaching this race. You have to think about the astronomical amount of laps that those drivers put in. They had 2 weeks, some of them about a month, to just prepare for Phoenix. And that type of experience, we're still in the same car, pretty much the same weather conditions. You have to imagine that that experience and that amount of practice is going to pay dividends for many years to come. So I was thinking approaching this race that a Casey Kerwin, even a Graham Boland, who was in the Championship 4 last year, is going to be very well served by that experience, and just the fact that they put in so much practice into that Championship 4 last year that they would be able to make it pay off tonight as well.
There's the onboard look with Tucker Minter in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The 33 car running right now in the number 3 spot on track, up 1 from the get-go. That was at the expense of Michael Cozy Jr. Started 3rd. He slipped to P6, so he's down a couple of positions. Minter far from safe, though. That Duracell 51, Donovan Strauss, is all over him, and it's been a topic of conversation, Steve, all year long. 120 laps in this race is not a marathon. It is a sprint, and I'm sure we're going to see that reflected in how aggressive these drivers are. On this restart, I will say, historically, Phoenix gives us a lot of restarts, but nothing's guaranteed when the races are this short.
No, not.
You were talking about guys that were running good back in other preparation. I look at guys that ran good at, say, Milwaukee earlier in the year. I know this isn't exactly like it, but the kind of the style of the track really matches, right? That flat, low grip style racetrack. But it was only the 2nd race of the season. A lot of practice, a lot of development has happened since then.
See, for the most part, everybody's got a decent amount of space. Intervals left-hand side of your screen, and as Steve mentioned, those playoff drivers highlighted in red. You can also see them on track with those red windshield banners and spoilers as well. And there is the first caution flag of the night at lap number 11. We are going to slow things down, and Tyler Gary is slow. I believe that is coming off of turn number 4. He was running in 31st position, and he is the only car I see turned around. So some sort of an issue for the Micro Center Toyota brings us under a quick early yellow just after we touched on that possibility. Let's rack it back and take a second look at what happened to the 66 of Gary. As I mentioned, he was 31st. There he is circled. This is headed down the back straightaway and headed off to turns 3 and 4. He's on the inside of the 1 car. That's Derek Bordeaux up top, and they touch, and then he just really couldn't get off each other, and then he gets finished there, but the 54 car gets into the back of him. That was Daniel Falkenham, and it is a bit of a lazy spin for Tyler Gary down low. Kept it out of the fence. Here's the perspective from Falkenham behind. Really couldn't do much but get on the binders, and it was that little tap that finished off that spinning car, but not a ton of damage on Tyler Gary. He gets away with 1, and an early yellow gives us a bit of a split decision onto pit road. Couple of drivers towards the rear come in, but the vast majority of our race leaders, Blake, aren't going anywhere.
No, they're not, and I doubt you'd want to give up the track position to get fresh tires. Again, limited sets on pit road. We're only 12, 13 laps into this race. Don't think you'd be willing to go down there just yet, but that's a consequential spin for Tyler Gary as well. We talk about the different agendas and those drivers that are right on the cut line. Tyler Gary was the cut line for the top 20 and moving on and avoiding relegation, so that's going to be a costly spin and likely put him in a situation where he's going to have to make some more up between both this race and Homestead to try and keep that top 20 spot.
It is a tough break for him. And of course, there's a whole lot going on in the world of eNASCAR. The eNASCAR College iRacing Series returns for fall 2023 with the next race on September 19th. We've seen the most drivers participate ever in this series, more than 400 of them through featuring qualifying sessions, and you can register now for the next race, represent your college, and win some prize and tuition money every single week. Just scan the QR code on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen now and sign up and be a part of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. Again, fall 2023 is upon us, and the next race is in 1 week's time on Tuesday, September the 19th. Many drivers, even at this level, Blake, and through the top levels of road to pro and that ladder, we've seen competing over there in college.
Yeah, it's a fun time to be able to get in the Xfinity car, and honestly, for most of these Coke drivers to be able to compete and potentially win just as much, if not more money than they're making in the Coke series. It's a really great opportunity and something that makes me question whether I should go back and get my doctorate or not.
Right? Just get something on the books to be able to compete for eligibility. The good news for me is I was never good enough when I was in college anyway, so not even a question, would have been a weapon out there on the racetrack.
What if I never went to college? Does that mean I could go enroll now and then be eligible?
Yeah, there you
online
go.
Degree, jump in there and show us how it's done.
I like this. Online degree, I could maybe get someone to take the classes for me.
There you go. $500 or something per race. I mean, get a ghost driver for you in there, make something happen, I'm sure. Of course,
there's a GPA requirement.
Right? The speed's the only requirement, is what you get in the qualifiers, as far as I know. Of course, as we compete for this championship and the college series continues, like I mentioned, there's all kinds of stuff headed on in the world of eNASCAR. So you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR. You can also go to eNASCAR.com and stay up to date with the points and the schedule and all that fun stuff with this series. But admittedly, it's pretty simple. There's tonight, and then there's 2 weeks' time on September the 26th. We will be at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. The race will be, though, at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. Fun to see that track returning as the season finale venue here in the Coke Series. So pace car off and in. Again, a couple of cars pitted. They'll be 31st on back. No major shakeup up front. Nick Ottinger going to bring us back to the green flag. He'll be the control car on the inside as they creep towards the restart zone. 15 laps down in the Logitech G120. Green flag back in the air. Good jump for the 25. He'll be clear of the battle for second behind him. Minter on the inside. Honeycutt up top. They're 2x2 throughout as they come off 2.
And no shocker that this is a racetrack that Caden Honeycutt is going to do really well at. I was actually talking to Vicente Salas, who is kind of his technical teammate when we were flying back from Kansas early on Monday morning, and they talked about the amount of work, how confident they felt coming into this race. I think a couple late model stock drivers, Caden Honeycutt, Vicente Salas competed at the playoffs at Harry Motor Speedway for their track championship, is going to be a part of it.
And you can see now the 33 a bit clear for that second spot. He wants to bring the challenge to the race leader. And Minter going to look to the inside through the dogleg and trying to challenge for the lead. Couldn't do it, though. Nick Ottinger seals it off for now. And I think the logic still applies, Steve, even though we flip this racetrack around with that dogleg. You talk about you can go down to the inside, but it makes the next corner tricky. Everybody kind of wants to throw it in there to get positioning and maybe then figure out the corner later.
Yeah, that is absolutely the key. So we're going to see right here, off turn 4, start finish line. All the field's going to turn left and straighten up the dogleg. But you have to be a little aggressive because you still need to get back out to the wall and have that nice wide arc into turn 1. One thing here is everybody runs kind of above the yellow line. We have seen in the past races at Phoenix where they kind of run down the flat. Right here, though, everybody kind of sticking to the groove.
And side by side throughout the field, including right there at the bottom of the screen for the race lead. Maybe a bit of a touch that time as they came off at turn 4. Still Ottinger at the stripe, but Tucker Minter looking to lead his first lap of the race. He'll push way up and squeeze that 25 car through the center of 1 and 2, and they're going to be just about dead even. Drag racing down the back straightaway. Strauss watches on from 3rd. If they continue to fight with each other, maybe the 51 car an opportunity to try to close in and join this battle. And at the stripe there, I think Ottinger again barely still side by side for the lead. Here's the perspective from Strauss in 3rd.
Oh, this is exactly what makes the racing so good here at Phoenix, that the top lane has an option. At most short tracks, once you get a guy underneath you, they kind of dominate the corner, dominate the exit. But you just see right here, really nice work by Ottinger, kind of running that top, giving space, but he's forcing Minter to have that low, shallow exit. And that, Evan, makes it so difficult to get the power down.
And in turn, that 33 tries to push the 25 up to allow him to get as high as he can through the corner to try to make as normal of a turn as he can. Both drivers trying to fight for the same amount of real estate. Ottinger clears for the lead. Caution flag flies behind your leaders. There is some smoke down the back straightaway. Colin Bowden, one of the slow cars. Maybe Jimmy involved as well. And that happened midfield again. Last incident happened in about the fight for 31st. This one, I think the high 20s is where the contact comes from. And we fall under our second yellow flag of the night, just past the 20 lap mark in this 120 lap contest. Of course, Mullis, if the 46 got a piece of this one, that's going to be a big story. One of the playoff drivers who came into tonight's race needing a lot. 9th of the 10 cars in the standings and already not having a great night, but a lot of cars to pit road, including the race leaders. So will they make their first trip down pit road tonight? Blake, let's rewind it, take a second look at what happened, and keep in context that 46 car as well as we look at the playoff competitors. So they get together. Again, that could have been a lot worse than it was. Here's the onboard perspective from Keister as he comes off of 4. The contact's going to be right in front of him. And again, they all kind of bounce off each other. I mean, those 4 cars could have easily wadded it up. So everybody's going to get away with a little bit of damage, but certainly could have been a lot worse. Could have been better. What that yellow does do is shake up the strategy because race leaders came down pit road. The 25 that Ottinger came in as the lead car. He took 4 tires. That's only going to be good enough for 12th position. Several cars did not pit. It looks like Caden Honeycutt will assume the race lead. He has not pitted tonight. Keister, Bose, Lowe, Bowden will take over 2nd through 5th. They have pitted tonight. They just pitted on that first yellow, so they've got about 11 lap older tires. And then Novak has also yet to pit. Vicente Salas, Parker White, Bobby Zelensky, Dylan Duval, Mike Conti take 2, and then Ottinger leads the 4 tires from 12th on back. We'll take an opportunity to step aside. Will the pit strategy mix up this Logitech G120? Second yellow of the night, and for the first time tonight, it's the 17 Ford of Caden Honeycutt. He leads at iRacing's virtual Phoenix Raceway.
It's official. Caleb Williams is transferring.
My man.
To Wendy's for the new loaded nacho cheeseburger.
Everybody say nacho! Nacho! It's melty, it's crunchy, and it's queso-y. Easiest choice I've ever made. Of course, he's not the only one transferring. Hey-o! Stable's got room for 2 quarterbacks.
Sorry, and who are you?
Matt Leinart, quarterback, national champion.
Afraid that doesn't ring a bell.
For the full nacho experience from all four sides.
Square's the beef.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new loaded nacho cheeseburger.
In the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs, names are made here, and here, and definitely here. But with the championship on the line, your name can only take you so far. A will to win, a hunger for speed, and a whole lot of attitude. That's how to see your name in bright lights. The NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs.
Back live from Phoenix Raceway, the Logitech G120 back underway. Green flag flies as we start lap 27. Honeycutt up front again on those older tires. Coverage of this race brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and some cars using their Logitech G pedals to avoid the third yellow. We'll check on that in a moment. And as always, by Wendy's. When it comes to cheeseburgers, Wendy's heard the assignment. The new loaded nacho cheeseburger has cheese, beef, queso, and even a jalapeno cheddar bun. Now that's cheesy. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. Well, we saw drivers choose a various amount of strategies, Blake. No tires, 2 tires, 4 tires, and any time that happens, that's not a recipe for a loaded nacho cheeseburger. It's a recipe for what you just saw there, and that is a mess inside of the top 5.
Yes, it is, and you know, this is one of the things we see, especially with where this caution fell in this race. We're going to take a look here. This is Alan Bowes, who kind of stuck here in the middle. You can see Colin Bowden, the 69 car on the bottom. Of course, Garrett Lowe up top, one of our championship 4. And it looks like, yeah, I think Bowden may have just clipped a little bit of that yellow line, kind of where the banking just dips off a little bit on the apron. I'd say all things considered, let's see, Bowes trying to make his way by Bowden right there. Honestly, not too bad, considering this is a really difficult place, especially on the backstretch, Evan. You have that inside pit wall. There's not a whole lot of room to go. See it one more time from Kevin King's vantage point. See a lot of smoke, and luckily he was just able to drive through. And again, a lot of playoff drivers, Evan, were really close to being involved in this one.
Yeah, we talked about Jimmy Mullis being involved in a previous incident. He's the lowest earning playoff cars. Just look at all those cars with those red roof numbers. That's kind of the easiest thing to identify from this high angle. The 18, the 33, the 25, the 3, the 46. Conti gets a little bit of it, but right there, 4 of them are bouncing into each other, and they're able to drive away. Again, it could have been so much worse. Instead, 9 of your 10 playoff cars run inside of the top 16. It is a good night, seemingly for most of the playoff cars. Again, that one outlier, the aforementioned Jimmy Mullis, who is down in position number 29. Lights back out on top of the pace car again, Steve. There's a lot of strategies to try to keep up with, right? There's the likes of Honeycutt, who hasn't pitted at all. You got Keister, Garrett Lowe, who pitted on the first yellow, not the second. That's how they got their track position. Then you get guys on 2, you get guys on 4. If there's 1 or 2 strategies, sign me up. I can keep track of it, but I'll yield to you on trying to make a mess of all that.
Well, I think the key right now is these cautions are helping Honeycutt. Honeycutt's decision to stay out really has committed him. Hey, we'd love to see this thing kind of leapfrog its way to lap 60. Maybe that might be his only pit stop if this gets to be green towards the end of the race. And right now, that's the key, right? When strategies diverge like this, it really comes down to when the yellows are or how the cautions turn out. I'm shocked more playoff cars weren't heavily involved in that accident near the front.
Most of the playoff cars went with the 2 or 4 tire stop most recently. So they're all on the same strategy. Green flag back in the air, though. It's a great jump for Honeycutt. He's got 2.5 car lengths as they dive down to the dog leg. And the 15 to Garrett Lowe, quick move. He slides into P2. It's the highest we've seen the Big Green Egg Ford so far tonight. And he's got about 12 lap better tires than Honeycutt, so he'll be looking to pressure for the race lead.
Don't look now, but Bobby Zielinski kind of hanging around right now in that 4th position. Michael Conti as well was talking with Conti pre-race and said, I think you two, in all intents and purposes, may be the fastest cars here. And he said, you know what, I expect the same. Conti able to go by for 3rd, so he tries to make a move by. So yes, look at this 8 in this 18 car. We remember how strong Bobby Zielinski was here at Phoenix last year. It was really a pit stop that pretty much dashed his championship hopes. And he, I mean, Evan, we were talking to him on the stage that night after Casey Kerwin won that championship. You could see the dejection, but the determination, I think, and has a lot of confidence coming into tonight with the amount of speed he had here last year that he can go up and contend for this win. That's why I picked him.
Well, it's just going to be a matter of time, right? Bobby continues to make the championship 4. It was because of his road course prowess, right? That's where he kind of made his name. But now even at the ovals, he seems to be very good. As we see another car turned around, the 38, and maybe that was the 45 involved. It was
Guess who came shooting across the track, and look, the 46 there as well, and the 10 of Steven Wilson. So relegation comes back for these playoff drivers. They all got lucky and avoided one, and maybe time and luck caught up with them, because it is a trio of playoff cars affected by this caution flag. Michael Guest, Steven Wilson, and Jimmy Mullis all involved as we go to yet another yellow, and that was a big mess. Headed down the back straightaway. We'll wind it back and take a second look, and I think it's going to be a 3 wide gone wrong. You see the 45 at Guest up on the outside, Cozy's in the middle, and then Femiola on the bottom of the racetrack. They're going to go 3 wide, maybe a Scotia 4 through the corner, but then when they come up, the 45's on the fence, and he just doesn't have enough room, and when he hooks the 38, it just blocks that racetrack quick.
And I don't really know if that's a situation, Evan, where Cozy came up, or like you said, that Femiola didn't really, I guess, respect the fact that they were 3 wide. It was so close there off the corner, and everybody's kind of fighting for every single inch at the exit of these corners. You could see a very nice move there to get on by, but unfortunately, Guest didn't look all too bad. He's going to be rolling on the top. He had made up several positions the lap or 2 prior, trying to work that high side in 1 and 2, but I think Steven Wilson, you can see Guess some heavy damage, and I think Wilson's going to be pretty hurt by that as well. Remember, Wilson was first of the playoff drivers that were trying to get in on points, so this is really going to shuffle things up.
He was plus 11 to the cut line coming into tonight. That was the safest of the points paying positions, but again, safe by no means. This is going to hurt. Here's the on board with Derek Bordeaux, and he will slice and dice his way through. Much more fortunate than some of the playoff drivers that we've been talking about. Bordeaux drives on. Meanwhile, down to pit road come a lot of those playoff cars. Guest and Wilson going to be in for service, and they drop into the high 30s. It's been interesting watching from the start of the playoffs. We talk, momentum this, momentum that, and speed. Of the cars who started the playoffs in the top 4, none of them got a top 10 in the playoff opener. And right now, the drivers in the top 4 all started in the bottom 6 to start this round. So it's been quite an invert. We've got Steven Wilson on the radio now. Steve, let's chat with him.
All right, Steven, it looked like maybe a little bit of involvement in the wreck. How's the damage overall, and how was the race until then?
Car's probably killed. We're going to have to hope for a miracle here. Racing until then was just kind of whatever. I was just chilling. I think we had a really fast Smithfield Ford Mustang, but we're not going to be able to use it because of a guy that I'm racing in a voice channel with is squeezing 3 wide right in front of me on lap 30. So nothing I can do about it.
All right, well, like you said, a lot of racing still to go. Never know where it may end up. Good luck for the rest of the night.
Well, you can tell Steven not in a position that he wants to be in. Obviously, again, I preface safest spot at plus 11, but safe by no means. And I'm sure if we took a look at the live standings, 35th is not going to be cutting it for that Smithfield Ford, so he's going to need something else. The good news is, long way to go still. We're just shy of 1/3 distance. There's your live points, and Steven Wilson, again, probably going to be below that cut line as he runs now at the very back of the field. We'll be checking in with that over the course of the night. Lights out on top of the pace car. It's still going to be Honeycutt and Conti on the front row. 3 different strategies, in fact, represented by the cars in the top 3. Honeycutt hasn't pitted at all. He's P1. Conti pitted 13 laps ago. He's second. Keister kind of in the middle there. He's got 24 lap-old tires. He will start from third, and it doesn't get much more clear from that point on. So again, all kinds of mixed strategies. Honeycutt, though, trying to hold off the field on older tires than anybody else on the racetrack. Only he and Zach Novak, who scored right now in P7, have yet to come down pit road tonight. Green flag in the air. It's a great jump for Keister, though, behind Honeycutt. And Conti drops from P2 to 3 real fast.
That he does. If anything for Conti, though, he's going to be able to kind of utilize that outside. He kind of had a little bit of options in terms of where he wanted to go. Still has the fresher tires compared to some of your race leaders, but that advantage, Evan, is going to continue to go away. The more restarts we have, the more heat cycles, just like in real life, that advantage for those cars that took those fresh tires, every caution we have, their advantage goes away just a little bit.
Steve, you talk about Bobby Zelensky and the steps he's made, the perennial top 4 competitor he is year after year. He has entered the picture and looking to gain some more. He'll clear the 11 white on the inside. Now he'll go side by side with Conti in a battle for 3rd and 4th.
Well, at the top of the show, we talked about what are the agendas for the playoff drivers. You said at least 1 could get on points, if not 2, if we don't see a new winner. Well, now, with other playoff drivers having damage, we just talked to Wilson. You know, does that change what Conti and Zelensky do, as we see right here? Very focused, very dialed in. You hope that the team is helping them with this math, letting them know what the agenda could or might be as the race progresses.
And there's that great look at both of those competitors. We talk so much about how different these setups are. You see it in Logitech Tweet Your Rigs during Countdown to Green. You see it during the race. Zelensky with that formula-style open wheel, and then, of course, Mike Conti, the stock car-style wheel on the bottom. Different monitors, different wheels, different pedals. All those little things that these drivers can do to personalize their setups to their comfort to try to make themselves as comfortable and fast as possible. Honeycutt still leading up front, but Mike Conti, after having a bad restart, is knocking on the door again. He's on the outside of Keister. He'll just edge him out for P2 at the stripe that time. The 8's better than all these cars, but so is Zelensky. So it's kind of the battle to be the first one to crack through, but 17 right now, holding strong, running defensively as the race leader. And there's nowhere for Conti to go right now because Keister's plugging up the bottom.
Well, and Honeycutt mentioned pre-race when he started on the outside, is he going to give way to these championship competitors? Says he doesn't want to get in the midst of that battle. That's easy to say pre-race. It's a lot different when you're fighting up front, and that clean air is so important. But look at this battle between Conti and Zelensky. Battle of fresh tires, and I think both these drivers know that whoever gets out front, gets out first, gets a huge advantage with that clean air. So there's going to be a big joust here to see who can be the first one if they are to pass Honeycutt with the fresh tires, but they're going to have to put a pause on that. As you can see, Matt Busa spun out at the tail end of the field. I believe 1 or 2 others were caught up in this one as well. Caution is out, and we'll have another decision here to see who is going to be able to make it on tires. I believe that was Joey Brown, whose car looks relatively destroyed. And honestly, with the way that car is crab walking, Evan, I'd say it's probably the same for Busa.
I knew somebody else had to be involved because we saw Busa up against the wall and then somebody else's hood was tumbling down the racing surface. Here's the decision, though,
wow,
and it is a late dive to the outside for Caden Honeycutt, and Kevin Harvick fans look away. The orange box, not how we determined pit road entry or exit here on the surface, because he went right over it, dove out at the last minute. Couldn't really tell you if he made the decision or if he made the decision based on Conti diving out behind him, but he opted to not come down pit road. And in fact, most of the race leaders decided to also stay out there. A couple of takers down towards the rear. Playoff drivers Wilson and Guest in again. Again, they're working on some ongoing repairs, but they were thinking about it at least up front.
Now, Evan, to clear up the rule that everybody doesn't have in the real world, you can hit the orange box and not pit. You just can't hit the orange box and pit. So all those Kevin Harvick fans that said he had no options, Not quite the case. Not quite the case. But I like this call by Honeycutt. I mean, it could completely backfire if this runs long enough. He's going to have to pit under green. But the issue is, obviously, the old tires are kind of holding its position. He really needs to get within whatever window he thinks he can stretch to the end of the race and try to do this on one stop. Let's take a look at exactly what happens here.
Oh, and that's the 55. Just a slight touch, Blake, but the way that Salas got into Joey Brown, the 14, when he lost it, it snapped up the hill. There was nowhere for the 97 to go. And again, Brown got the worst of it because that car's obliterated. At least the other car was able to drive away.
Yeah, I think Salas just got in a little bit too deep. And again, very easy to just make the slight contact. But you can see how finicky these cars are, especially that part of the corner where they're getting back in the throttle, how difficult it can be.
Said it once, I'll say it again. Register now for the fall semester of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. The next race is in 1 week's time on September 19th. We've seen more than 400 competitors compete in the College Series. And of course, you could be the next. Just scan the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Get racing at a competitive level in the world of eNASCAR. Represent your school and win some tuition money, cash payouts all season long, just like we have right here in the big leagues in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Again, scan the QR code, bottom right-hand corner of your screen, if you are currently in college or university, and compete today. Of course, the fun, though, doesn't stop there. It goes from the asphalt to the dirt in the World of Outlaws Dirt Racing, a video game still available on console. The latest update as well just dropped for 2023, so you can get the game and get that latest update for all current generation Xbox and PlayStation platforms, and try out your skills on the dirt. I've heard good things. I still need to get a copy. Once eNASCAR Coke season winds down, Blake, I'll jump behind the wheel and give it a try. But from everybody who I've seen race it, they said it's a blast.
Yeah, I've been watching. I've been playing a little bit myself, and so many of these cars, these tracks available on the iRacing service as well. But just a different feel to be able to jump on a console, get a career mode going, and be able to see kind of the merging between the two worlds, Evan. I think this is something that is really exciting, and who knows what the future has for these types of console games between iRacing and everything else that's going on. But cool to see the two worlds kind of merge and provide something for users who may not be able to get a PC and run on iRacing all the time.
Yeah, it's more accessible, and big things happening there. We take a look at the live points on the left-hand side of your screen as we go back green. 73 laps to go in the Logitech G120. Caden Honeycutt on those old tires. Again, impressive on the restart. Conti tries to clear for second. He'll do so. That leaves Zelensky behind in third.
So the question I have, Evan, is how far do you think that this 17 could go? At the beginning, we said 55 to 60 laps, but we've had a bunch of yellows. Does that extend the window? You know, can he get to 65 or 67 laps? Can he get to a point where he can comfortably make it on one stop?
Well, you see the 8 go to the inside, Blake. It's a point we talked about in Countdown to Green, right? There's more fuel than tires in these things. So he's getting to a spot where we saw everybody thinking about pit stops that last time there. He might just be able to get back on cycle with everybody if more cars come down and decide to pit. They are 72 laps away for the end of the race. That's still in the fuel number, but I don't know if that's in your tire number yet.
Well, that pit window's about 60 laps, but you can go anywhere. I was making a run earlier. Well, one of the great things about iRacing is you can make a run as a broadcaster. 87 to 90 was really the fuel window that I was able to see. Again, whether tires can go that far, that's the question, but nevertheless, battle up front for the race lead. It may not matter for too much longer. It's going to be between that 8 and that 18 car. Whoever can get out front first may be in control of this race. You can see Conti wash up the track as he's side-by-side with Honeycutt. The 8 and Honeycutt side-by-side, shades of a Cars Tour race at South Boston, and now Bobby Zielinski's going to go to the bottom, 3 wide for the lead.
3 wide for the race lead. Conti led his first lap, that time by the stripe. So he's trying to get a lap by lap now. Contact on the inside. Honeycutt, to his credit, refuses to give up. And after all of this, Zelensky wants to go third to first. They touch, and he does it. Bobby Zelensky, the new race leader at lap 52.
I'd love to know what Conti just said, too, on his webcam when they made a little contact and Bobby got the lead. He said something.
Yeah, I don't know if that one we're going to get pop up. That one might not be one that we get to hear in a couple of seconds. There was that little bit of a touch, Steve. They went through wide again. Caden was determined, fought hard on those old tires for some time. He made life difficult for Zelensky and Conti, but I think now that they finally got around him, we'll see them grow that gap.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the new tires are better. I was impressed that the 17 held on as long as he did. I'm actually still impressed that he's able to run the top right here and not continue to lose time. But now that Zelensky has the clean air, he's going to be very difficult. You just kind of want to stay in touch with him. Still a lot of racing to go and see what kind of opportunities you can make your car better.
Bobby Zelensky, a 14-time race winner, competing in his 7th series here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Still looking, though, to add his name to the list of champions. And every year in February, it feels like when you come out with your way too early prediction, I think one of the only safe bets you could make in February is Bobby Zelensky in the top 4 in the championship 4. He's trying to do it again. And remember the implications here, because he hasn't won yet as he takes over the lead. Tentatively, that puts him into the championship 4 based on winning, not by points. So now only one points paying position is available. That's currently held now by the 3 car. Only 1 point. Jordy Lopez is in over the 95 of Casey Kerwin. That is the effect of having a new race leader up front.
And just look at how close it is. Look how much traffic is in front of Jordy Lopez. Again, Kerwin's a little bit further up the road. Not as much, not as many positions, I guess I should say, for him to try and make up. But Jordy Lopez has it all in front of him. And this is going to go back and forth for the next several laps. And again, would change again if Conti were able to get up front. So 1 point separating. Kerwin's in. Lopez may be in after the next corner. So it can hardly get closer than what we have between these two competitors.
Yeah, just flipped now. The 95's the one in, the 3's out. It was the inverse just a lap and a half ago. So again, those points going to change all night long and even lap by lap. Worth noting that Casey Kerwin scored in P6 at the moment. The 3 of Jordy Lopez is down in 14th, so Lopez at least has more positions optional in front of him to gain. Right now he's getting outrun by the 95. That could be the difference. We jump on board with Jordy Lopez. Let's ride around the Phoenix Raceway with our Coca-Cola onboard camera. Caution flag is on the speedway. Lopez breathes a sigh of relief that it's not around him, and we slow for Derek Bordeaux. The 1 car will limp to pit road off of turn number 2. It looks like there might be some front end damage on the SimSeat Chevrolet, and oh yeah, you can see how bent up that thing is as he drives by the parked 97 of Matt Busa, who has been down there for some extensive repairs. And he will have to come in to service that race car. Up front, though, pit road is open. It's decision time, and the 18 bails at the last second. Who goes with him?
Oh, no.
Only 1 or 2. It is almost a unilateral decision to come down pit road. Zelensky stays out. Falkenham, some of the cars to the rear do. But that is not a good sign for Bobby Zelensky, as almost everybody else will head down pit road for service. And well, they get pit stops in. Blake, let's take a look at what happened to the 1.
Again, this was just behind Jordy Lopez, who was running around the 12th position. You can see Bias kind of gives a little bit of contact there with Zach Novak. Looks like Ryan Luza, that number 4 car, comes up the track. And again, that area of the racetrack, Kevin, the reason that much contact causes that much of an issue is that's when you're getting back to the throttle. These cars are really loose at that part of the corner. And you got to think this is Phoenix with a next-gen car. So these drivers are downshifting and probably just about to get back into the gears and shift up at that point of the corner. So really difficult there. And again, Ryan Luza, I think, just drifted up the racetrack a little bit too much to tag that 1 car, but it does not take a lot of contact to upset these race cars, that's for sure.
There's another look at it there. You can see how that thing shakes out up on the outside of the racetrack. And unfortunately for the 1 car, again, that was heavy damage into the outside wall. And That's going to force him down to pit road as Brandon McKissick in the 36 car is able to cycle through, and that's a good look at a Mobil 1 machine, and for good reasons, because you check out that Mobil 1 paint scheme to honor the brand's incredible 20th year of official partnership at NASCAR, and what a partner they are as the official motor oil of NASCAR. Speaking of Mobil 1, we've got some exclusive inside information that they've got some great things coming to their YouTube page this fall. Mobil 1 is working on a special content series that will highlight some of your favorite current drivers from a variety of racing series. What that means is you're going to get to see how their love of racing has shaped their careers and their lives. And we'll talk about some really big names. We can't say more. You're just going to want to stay tuned. So do yourself a favor and go ahead and subscribe to Mobil 1's YouTube channel so you do not miss it. And I say that's a good-looking Mobil 1 Chevrolet. I should also say that that's a good-looking Steve Letarte Esports Chevrolet, Steve.
Yeah, it's exciting to have Mobil 1 on board. They have been a partner within NASCAR for over 2 decades now. You see Brandon in the bottom right there kind of prepping and driving. He's doing a nice job, learning a lot about the series. You see this every year, Evan, just how tough this series is. We talk about the road, the pro, and the ability to kind of move up. But when you get to this level, every decision, the pit decisions, the setup decisions, more than anything, qualifying. You guys talked about it in the pre-race. If you can't qualify consistently up front, it makes these races so challenging. But Brandon doing a nice job carrying the Mobil 1 colors today.
True rookie, competing in his first season in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, one of 10 true rookies in the field. So that's a quarter of the field, Blake, rookies. Goes to show you how competitive it is to stay at this level.
That it is. I mean, again, think about the fact that Ray Alfala is still on the outside looking in, is doing everything that he needs to do to make it back to this series, but a 4-time champion having to fight his way back. That's what happens. And Evan, looking as these cars pace down the back straightaway, a lot of red banners up towards the front of this field.
8 playoff cars in the top 12. It includes Bobby Zalenski, who is the control car. Remember, he stayed out. We got fresh tires from 8th position on back. Green flag in the air, and Zalenski going to see Garrett Lowe follow. He'll go down to the inside to try to clear Falkenham. There are 3 playoff cars, Zalenski, Lowe, and Wilson on the strategy, who stayed out. Guest included, too, so 4 of them stayed out. The other 6 came down pit road. That could be a big storyline as they race down off it into 3.
Now, look at Michael Conti going to the top, was 4 wide in 1 and 2, and trying to do everything he can to get some clean air. Those tires are going to be rolling, but for how long? As we almost have a spinner in the back, saw a little bit of smoke. It's all good, and that's why, Evan, these drivers, a hard crash out of the dog leg. A couple of playoff drivers involved. I believe I saw Jordy Lopez Jr. involved. You can see Parker White as well. What a vicious crash in this part of the racetrack.
Jimmy Mullis drops down the scoring to pylon as well. His night goes from bad to worse as the playoff hits keep coming for some of your championship hopefuls. As we slow things down again, just past halfway home in the Logitech G120. For the moment, Bobby Zalenski's in the 18 car, your race leader at Phoenix.
I need to try it first.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Makoni.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at McConeySetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
You like drama? Then you'll love the night race at Bristol. The speed, the noise, the colors. It's as all the sideways chaos of NASCAR is shoehorned into an East Tennessee Thunderdome. With elimination on the line, one bull ring to rule them all.
Wild night here at Bristol Motor Speedway.
The NASCAR playoffs continue at Bristol on USA.
Coverage of tonight's Logitech G120 is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Makoni Setup Shop. Makoni Setup Shop is the original iRacing setup shop and is trusted by real-world and virtual professionals to get the job done. Visit MakoniSetupShop.com to see why they are the official setup shop of eNASCAR and choose a subscription to save money. Makoni Setup Shop. Our setups, your victories. So another caution flag, and Blake, this one consequential. Jordi Lopez, Jimmy Mullis in the center of all of it.
We'll see it one more time. Again, the dog leg. These cars are kind of bouncing up off the apron. And wow, I mean, I don't even know if there was contact there, Evan, but Colin Keister, the car just snaps. And what a hard impact. Parker White, Jimmy Mullis, who needed a win to get in. It looks like his hopes may be dashed. And yeah, that transition off the apron, Evan, I think is what caused that.
Yeah, they went to the dog leg,
yeah.
A little bit of a touch, and when they say Wendy's hits, that's not what they're talking about. He was a hard hit to the outside wall for the Wendy's 42, and we talked a couple times already tonight, Steve, about the risk of going to the dog leg. You can't really see where the car next to you is, and you kind of lose whose lane is whose, and it's very easy to get a little bit into the guy next to you like that.
Yeah, and that one was surprising because there wasn't some obvious or some really heavy contact, but the results are still the same, and really that's the risk for all of these playoff drivers. As you see, Jordi just nowhere to go, right? So gets spun around. It doesn't look like a whole lot of damage. The real question then is, what are the other playoff guys going to do? Are they willing to be a little more conservative to try to score points, or are they going to continue to push? The 10, a nice recovery, though, up on row 2.
It has been a sloppy night for the playoff cars, but many of them still top 10. Green flag back in the air. 52 laps to go in the Logitech G120. It's a good jump for Zelensky from the top spot. He's on the oldest tires. If anybody, 45 laps ago was the last time he came down pit road. Garrett Lowe nearly had second, but Falkenham punches back with a great run on the outside at a 2. The car they're looking for, though, the 10 of Steven Wilson, 23-lap old tires. He's on the move. And Casey Kerwin in 5th, only 9-lap old tires. He wants more as they go 3 wide. And the caution will fly behind the race leaders again, and there's a car spinning up and on the outside wall just past the start-finish line. Big issues. I think that was Kevin King, and not to get lost again in the importance of where these playoff cars sit, but that second fight that we're all watching, Steve, is the relegation bubble. And Blake and them pointed at Countdown to Green. Kevin King is about 20 points out of locking himself into this series for next year. That's not what he wanted to see. That's just as impactful of an accident for him as it would be if it was a playoff car.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on it as well, because Dylan Ault, the other Letarte eSport entry, is just in front of King. He's 23 out of relegation. Let's see exactly what happens here. Oh, just 3 wide.
Yeah, King got a little loose.
King was trying to get the power down, got a little loose, may have come down. The 3 comes up.
Keegan Leahy gets away with one there. He was involved in the accident prior to this, so he was due for a little bit of luck.
Yeah, and he's, if you can believe it, on that relegation line. Just a name we never thought we would even consider falling outside the top 20. Yeah, that's a great view of it right there. Just definitely a little bit free. Blake, you were on it, right? The 88 gets loose. It kind of comes down the track and collects a couple others. It's interesting as these laps wear down. I think Bobby was concerned about being one of the only cars that stayed out. And as we continue to lose laps under yellow, it's going to get to a point where he's not going to have the ability to pit just because there's not enough time to have new tires work. I mean, you would have to think those cars back there with less laps on their tires. I mean, you look back, I think the first car is Casey Kerwin, is that right? He's in fourth with the least amount of laps.
Yep.
He's probably got to think he's done pitting for the day.
He's got the freshest and the highest of the freshest. He's P4. Tucker Minter on the same strategy as him, and then basically everybody else from 9th on back. So notables in there, Conti, Ottinger, and then it's been a mess of a night for Jordy Lopez and Jimmy Mullis. Both of those cars, again, with aspirations to make it to the championship 4. Jordy came into tonight 4 above the cut line, a very different spot than Jimmy Mullis was, who was 19 below. Mullis has kind of been thinking win this whole time. Jordy had a real good chance to points his way in. With 47 to go, has that ship sailed? With how many hits that 3 Coca-Cola Chevy has taken is, again, he's still in the mid-20s and looking to make something else up. And it is surprising. It seems like every time we look, Blake, it's a playoff car in a wreck. Right now, they occupy 8 of the top 10 spots.
Yeah, well, and I think you kind of mentioned that with, you know, all these cars we saw stay out. Of course, Zelensky had the track position, but how about Steven Wilson? He said his car was killed. He needs a miracle. This is his version of a miracle, is staying out, hoping that they continue to wreck in the back, and that maybe, just maybe, something could come out of it. So differing agendas. I know Michael Guest was involved in that crash earlier. He also stayed out under this. So you kind of have that mix of drivers who pit. They're obviously hoping that this goes green, that they're able to take advantage of those fresh Goodyear Eagles. And those up front, even I got to give credit to Daniel Falkingham, Bobby Zelensky's JGR teammate, that stayed out with him and was kind of playing defense a little bit for Bobby a little bit earlier on there. As we take a look at the picks, I like Bobby Z. There's no better place to be than out front, but I got to say, I feel like those tires are eventually going to catch up with them unless we get maybe 3 or 4 more cautions back to back. I'm feeling a little uneasy right now about that 18 car.
Listen, yeah, the way the middle of the race has gone, Steve, 3 or 4 yellows back-to-back, that's not a bad bet.
Well, Wilson's doing a great job recovering, but I know you don't want to hear this, but I think Alan's pick of Casey Kerwin, if I had to jump into a boat right now, I'm jumping in Alan's pick of Casey Kerwin, the first car on the freshest tires.
Alan's had a good year, so maybe that is the place to go with. Let's see. Pace car heads off and in, and we are doubled up again on the front straightaway. Again, look at all the red inside of the top 10. A very crucial 46 laps to go. We'll join from the perspective of Nick Ottinger. It's the Logitech G on-board camera looking for the green flag. So Nick Ottinger doing his best to hold some ground. They're side by side, about 5th position on back. Up front, Zelensky still leads, but those fresh tires coming fast. Here comes Kerwin to the inside of Garrett Lowe for second. That's about a 25-lap tire advantage in favor of the 95. He makes quick work, I thought, but the 15 Lowe almost able to cross back down to the inside. Now he'll give a shot to the 95. That's a parting gift to turn 3. And now Casey Kerwin will set his sights on the race lead.
Just feels like there's a long run coming as well. You know, Blake, you can sometimes feel it. We've had a bunch of yellows. These guys all kind of settle in. Playoff cars in the top 5, 8 in the top 11. It just, I don't know, it feels like we're getting a 20 or 25 lap run coming.
I agree with you there, Steve. At this point, this almost looks like a replay of our championship race last season. Bobby Zalinski, who dominated a great portion of that race. Casey Kerwin trying to chase him down. Kerwin with the better tires. Bobby Zalinski with the clean air that's probably helping him out a little bit. How long does Kerwin wait? How patient is he? Nobody back here is patient, though. Michael Guest, you can see him up top 3 wide trying to make some moves. You also got to think about Tucker Minter. And, how about the call from Steven Wilson? Said his car was killed, but he's maintaining, and right now, even if Zalinski or Kerwin or even a Michael Conti were to come back and win this race, Wilson would be in on points easily right now.
It's been good for Steven Wilson if he could maintain, and he finds himself kind of middle of the road, right? He doesn't have the freshest tires. He also doesn't have the oldest of tires, and maybe that's the middle of the road call that a guy that had the points bubble would want. You see the points, again, Zalinski leading means it's only 1 point spot, and because Wilson was third, he bumps to 4. He is still good right now. That's by an 11-point gap to Kerwin, so it looks like right now Casey Kerwin to P2, Steve, not going to be good enough. He can't points his way in the way it runs right now from P2. He's got to make that move on Zalinski, and he's on the bumper.
Yeah, and I think he has the chance to be the most patient. I think he's in the best position with 40 to go. You see behind that 95 car, not a lot of pressure. He's applying the pressure to Zalinski as he looks right to his rear bumper. This is the move he made earlier down the front stretch. He's got to look left through the dog leg. It's got to be close. I think he has a chance to roll to the inside of the 18.
Kerwin tries to keep it on the left rear quarter panel as Zalinski is going to be able to hang there off of turn number 2, and they'll go side by side for the race lead. 82 laps in at Phoenix. Kerwin trying to lead his first lap of the afternoon. It's not going to come there, though. Zalinski had the advantage by 1/100th, but Kerwin now, can he force the 18 up high? Is going to be better into the corner, but the 18 is Zalinski. Should Blake be able to get the run here off of 2?
And again, these two drivers so talented. They're going to battle each other clean. Zalinski is going to try to give Kerwin as little room as possible just to hang on that right rear quarter panel, force Kerwin to use up those fresh tires as he rides up the racetrack. And by the way, this is going to bring Tucker Minter right into the fight as well. These two keep duking it out for just a couple more laps. Minter already made up about 1/10.5 that last time by. So the longer these two go, that brings Tucker Minter, who again is on fresh tires, right into the mix. I mean, he's already almost there.
Well, what the 95 needs to do to seal this pass is you have to take up more real estate in the middle of the corner. Entry, he's doing fine, but right here in the middle, he needs to move up. Not as much to this end of the racetrack, but heading down to this end. In turns 1 and 2, the 95 needs to open up his diamond and force the 18 up in the middle of the corner. The 18's up, like right here, it needs to be up right against him to try to get that thing turned and get a straighter shot off. That was a little better job.
And as Minter joins the party, keep in mind all 3 of these cars entered tonight in the red. Kerwin -7, Minter -15, Zalinski -19. We don't have to wait till the Hall in 2 weeks to see a battle for $100,000. It's likely of these 3, only one of them can make it to the championship 4. And on the inside, Casey Kerwin has done it. New race leader at lap 86. How long does it last, though? Zalinski going to go right back down to the inside in 3. He wants the challenge back for the top spot, but the 95 has got his number off at turn 4.
This is great stuff, and how difficult it must be for Kerwin to balance wanting to get the lead. He could arc him out. He could door Zalinski up the track. He chose not to do it. He wanted to pass him and do it clean, and I think Zalinski now kind of realizing as Tucker Minter goes on by, that's a really smart move by Bobby Zalinski right there. He just realized, okay, I may not be in the best position right now. The best thing I can hope for is hope that I made Kerwin use up those tires. I'm going to let Minter by, hope that those two battle each other, and that's going to be my best position to win. I really like that move from Bobby Zalinski. Oh, by the way, Michael Conti just behind this battle as well.
Question for me now is how much tire did the 95 use up? I appreciate how clean he raced Zalinski, but there is going to be a price to pay. All of those laps around the bottom definitely burns up that right rear tire. And now he has Minter. Zalinski's kind of settled in, but Conti also running a little bit faster on the racetrack.
Conti's in that group of cars just like Kerwin and Minter, who pitted 29 laps ago. Zelensky, 65 laps ago. His tires are more than double the age of those around him. Now, not all of those have been green. We had our fair share of yellows through the midway point there. But the table is not slanted in favor of the 18 right now. And now Tucker Minter, this is a straight-up battle. Him and Kerwin on the same strategy. What a year it's been for Tucker Minter and the Team Dillon Esports 33. One of the true rookies coming in here. We spoke with him at the Hall last year. His aspirations to get to this level, already a 2-time race winner this season, and now looking to fight for the top spot and to punch his ticket to the Championship 4. Had a run that time, doesn't bite. Let's watch for the Global Industries Chevy to try to set this thing up.
I think Minter's really determined here. He knows that Kerwin may have used up his stuff battling Zelensky, but as this run goes on, if he's not able to get the lead, I feel like the advantage starts to tilt in the 95's favor. You could see Minter trying to duck out, get a little bit of clean air on the nose, get a little bit of a run off the corner, but he knows he has to get that job done soon, or else Kerwin's probably going to set sail with that clean air.
Conti still sits in P4 as he continues to close the gap on Zelensky. If he wants enough time to join this battle, he's going to need to make a pass sooner than later. He's right now about 9/10 of a second off of this. If they fight side by side like we saw at a Kerwin and Zelensky, that could be an opportunity for more drivers to join. Here comes Tucker Minter to the inside of Casey Kerwin. He'll make the move in 3, and now we do the dance again. What can the car on the inside do to take up real estate center of the corner, and what can the car on the outside do to carry that speed off and fight back? Nose to nose with a ticket to the Championship 4 finale on the line, and they are on each other's door. Contact that time off at 2 as they are beating and banging as they head back off to turn 3.
Remember, these two had contact at Daytona that Tucker Minter used to make the playoffs and eventually put himself in this position. Coming off of 4, he won his very first Coke Series race after a little bit of contact with this 95 car. And oh, they are so close. And Steve, I think you made a great point. Minter's doing what Kerwin wasn't willing to do, and that's why that 33, at least right now, is up front.
So now, the 33 has better tires, but now Kerwin on the inside, how will he treat the 33? The 33 absolutely moved the 95 up, took some space, and we see him bang again.
The defending series champion going head-to-head with a driver who wasn't even in the series last year. There is more contact there. Kerwin is using up the left rear of Tucker Minter, and they both look as calm as you could imagine. Minter, though, look at that determined face on the bottom. Casey Kerwin, a seasoned vet, looks like it's any other lap. But on the line here is an opportunity to fight for 100,000, and you saw Kerwin got a little bit loose. You saw the wheel inputs there, and Tucker Minter is that room to breathe. With 25 laps to go, he has finally got a car length, and he's the race leader.
That was very well done by Minter. I know some may not be a fan of it, but I think that's what you have to do. You cannot run side by side for as long as the 95 of Kerwin did it. You just heat your tires up too much. So he didn't wreck the 95. Was there contact? Did he definitely take a few feet of the 95's racing line? Absolutely. But, if Casey Kerwin, I'm probably a little upset. But as a race fan, I'm okay with a move like that.
And Blake, to my point, why wait till, we get to the Hall of Fame to do it? I mean, that battle right there's a battle for $100,000, just like any battle we'll see in 2 weeks' time.
Exactly. These are the type of moves you're going to have to make if you want to win a championship. But I think I echo everything that Steve just said there, that there may have been a little contact. He may have just used him up a little, but I'd say it's fair games, especially here at a track like this, and how difficult it can be to pass. Not to mention, if you're Casey Kerwin, you almost didn't want to fight too hard. You saw the points on the right-hand side of your screen right there. Kerwin's in on points right now, so he didn't need to necessarily have to hold him at bay and fight him for everything. He's not in a must-win, at least for the moment. Steven Wilson is still in. However, Michael Conti right now, who sits in 4th, he has to find a way to pass 3 more cars in the next 22 laps to get in.
Playoff cars run in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. It feels like a championship 4 battle with all the red at the front of the field. But Tucker Minter is running away with the lead now, more than a half a second up on Casey Kerwin. Zelensky has held strong in third. That's impressive for a car on 76 lap old tires. Michael Conti, unable to get around him, still watches on from fourth, trying to make it to the Championship 4 in his final season competing in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Blake, a quick question for you. We talk about fuel and strategy. Zelensky pitted 77 laps ago. There's 20 to go in this race. I know that equals 97. Have we had enough yellows, though, for him to be good fuel-wise?
I don't think so. Again, I can make 87 laps. At least that's what all the calculators were saying when I made my run earlier. Now, of course, that'll change depending on the track temperature and depending on where you're running, which they're all pretty much running at the bottom of 3 and 4. So let's say he can go 90 on the top end of that. I don't think we had 7 laps worth, unless he's saving right now to be able to make it to the end. So I think that's a great point, that fuel could certainly work against Bobby Zelensky at a certain point here.
And there's more than just that battle up front. Of course, you can see the battle for 7th. This is where all the non-playoff cars show up. Dylan Duvall, you got the 2-car, Corey Vincent, the 51 Donovan Strauss, and then Nick Ottinger watching on from P10. A lot of big points on the line in the relegation battle. If you're unfamiliar, there's 2 fights happening right now. It's the fight to be in the Championship 4 and the ongoing battle, which will go through Homestead to stay in this series. There are no 3-year deals. There are no contracts to stay in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. You gotta finish top 20 if you want to stay locked in, and that's why this race is just as important for every other car in the field as it is for the leaders. And there was the touch there. Strauss, contact with Vincent. It'll cost him a spot.
And if you're Ottinger there in the 25 with a championship race ahead and already locked in with a win, you're racing hard, you're staying in your rhythm, but you're definitely not going to try to make any more enemies or upset anybody in the final race.
And maybe one of the only people breathing right now is that 25, Nick Ottinger, right? He got the race win. It was a big bounce back for him after a poor start to the playoffs. Finished 25th in the playoff opener at Michigan. Followed that up with the race win at Dover. 25th is the 3rd worst result that any playoff car has had in either of the 2 playoff races so far this postseason. And he has done a good job again, bounced back and locked himself in. Other drivers have been the epitome of consistent, right? Steven Wilson, 2nd at Michigan, 2nd at Dover. Can he get another top 5 out of this one? He sits in P6, looking to points his way in as the most consistent driver so far through the opening 2 rounds of this postseason. And whoever needs to make moves, you're running out of time. 15 laps to go from Phoenix. Tucker Minter likes how it's playing out, but will it race out to the end? As you see that 25 of Ottinger going way to the outside in turns 1 and 2.
Well, again, how many times in this series, Evan, especially this season, have we seen a race starting to play out like this? We get a little bit of a long run, and then it all flips on its head within the last 10 laps. Of course, Tucker Minter doesn't want to see it. He's been able to continue to build his lead. It was 0.8 of a second just 3 or 4 laps ago, and he's already starting to make up a lot of ground on Kerwin, so you can see how much that clean air is starting to benefit him. Zelensky now is starting to run down Kerwin. That's a little bit of a shock. And then Conti, who was about 1.6 seconds back, he's continued to fall back as well. So Tucker Minter just wants everything to go smoothly. 14 laps away for a championship, but this could be the end of it all. 3 wide back here. You can see Steve or Steve's drivers and Dylan and Brandon in the middle of that 3 wide move. It's the last thing Tucker Minter wants to see. These guys back here for about 20th or so have an issue.
And you ask yourself, why are they racing so hard? But you've brought it up a few times, Evan. It's relegation, right? That 36 driver is trying very hard. The 40 driver trying very hard to not be relegated out of the series. I mean, 9 of 16 races have finished in overtime. And I think this is why, because there's so much on the line for so many different drivers that they race hard for every lap.
Yeah, admittedly, if you're one of the drivers on the bubble, you don't care, and there's a caution. Yellow flag flies at lap 109. You can see the smoke headed off to turn number 1. Is it a problem with the 2-car of Corey Vincent? He was scored in 7th the last time by. And I believe he is the culprit of the yellow flag. And as the age-old saying goes, this changes everything, and we've got some huge decisions coming up as your race leaders look to pit road. A spin, self-spin from a car inside of the top 10. And now that 1.6 second gap that Tucker Minter had built has evaporated. And what happens on pit road? He is going to stay out, and everybody else is coming to pit road. It happened to Zelensky earlier, and it happens to Tucker Minter now. Nobody goes with him except for maybe way in the back there, one more car.
Minter stays out. I think you may see Molis. You might see Michael Guest stay in. Tucker Minter just punched his desk, we're hearing on his webcam. Obviously, you could see, was hoping that there would be about, I would imagine, about a 10-car buffer or so of cars staying out. As you know, and this was going to be the call, right? Do you stay out? Do you take two? I imagine we'll see a lot of two-tire calls at this juncture. We'll see how it happened. Corey Vincent, again, he was running just behind Steven Wilson, Garrett Lowe, a couple of drivers. This was inside the top 10. And yeah, you see that transition once again, just the car snaps around. And I got to say, if that's the yellow, I'm shocked that that was enough to throw a caution. I mean, he didn't even get close to 90 degrees sideways. And unfortunately, Tucker Minter is, again, somebody that's going to be hanging on in only two cars. That's right. Molis and Bowden, the only two that stayed out.
It is worth noting real quick, cautions are automatic. I just want to make that point real quick, Steve. Cautions are automatic. Yeah. It's not a judgment call by anybody in the tower. Cautions automatically determined by the sim, and that little self-spin, half-spin for the two is the reason for the yellow.
Yeah, so I could see why the 33 stays out. You know, sometimes you have to ask yourself, what's the better way to lose or what's the better way to win? If he pits, he might be the only. Right, with so much on the line, 10 laps to go, you ask yourself, the playoff drivers that aren't in position to win the race, why would they not stay out and try something? And I think for that reason, he stayed out, and now maybe the tires will cool off and fire off. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Let's talk as well about what happened through the pit strategy here. So Tucker Minter stays out. He's on 52-lap-old tires. Jimmy Mullis stays out. His are 46 laps old. And then Colin Bowden will join them. He'll be to the inside of row 2 in third. He's also on 52-lap-old tires. Then it was almost unanimous two-tire decisions for everybody else. So Kerwin, first off pit road, he'll be 4th. Zelensky 5th. Wilson P6, Lowe in 7th, Conti 8th, Lopez 9th. They all went for a two-tire decision. You don't see 4 until we get way back to Donovan Strauss at 18th position. So it is going to be 2 fresh tires versus those cars in the top 3 who did not pit. And I think obviously Mullis didn't have a chance to win it where he was running. I'm not shocked by the fact that he stays out, Blake. He had to do that. He wants to get that special Sudoku paint scheme into victory lane for him, obviously. Zach Novak wants to get in as well, but everybody else, the two-tire call, they all knew track position was somewhat important, so were tires, so they made the decision to go in the middle, go for 2.
Well, again, we say that this may be pretty tough for Tucker Minter, but look up front, look at the amount of cautions we had the last time that we kind of stopped a long green flag run. Minter's not out of this yet. He's going to need a lot of help from some of these drivers. But again, this is Phoenix. We're going 5, 6. We can fit 7 wide down on the dog leg. He needs that to happen right now to have a shot, maybe go through a couple restarts. What did Steve say earlier with the stats? 9 of 16 have ended in overtime. I would say the odds probably favor that right now. So he just needs a lot of carnage to happen behind him on these restarts, and that very well could happen.
Pace car off and in. It'll be a restart with 7 laps to go at Phoenix. Green flag in the air. It's a good jump for Minter. What can the cars on fresh tires do? There goes Zelensky to the inside. Kerwin's going to go to the outside. 3 wide as they race off to turn 1. Not a chance for Mullis. He'll go in the middle. They'll touch now 4 wide with the 15 car of Lowe to the inside. It is Zelensky through to 2nd. He sets his sights on the race leader. Caution before he gets there.
And now it finally comes out. And we got another wreck into turn 3 as well. It was Salas who spun in the back, but more happening after the yellow came out. We'll see if those drivers retain those spots. And see, this is the tough part for Tucker Minter. He needed that caution to happen before those fresh tires got up onto the first row, onto the second row. I think Zielinski's going to start to his outside. Kerwin's going to be right behind him. So this is where it's going to get difficult. But for now, we're going to get, I think, just shy of a overtime start for this one. I don't think we'll quite get there, but for Minter, it's gonna be tough for him to hang on. We'll see what happened here.
Let's take a second look at what happened. And again, there were kind of 2 accidents. Let's look at what actually triggered the yellow flag. You're looking for the 55 car on the inside of the racetrack. That's Vicente Salas off to 1 and 2. You can see 3 wide. The slower cars kind of jumbling things up in the middle, and that accordion stacks up to him. He gets a kiss from the 43 of Femi Olat. That's what brings out the caution. Then we saw more smoke, Blake, to your point, down in turn 3. You're looking for the 25 Nick Ottinger on this one, right? Yellow is out at this point. 40 car gets turned. They slide up. There's Ottinger spinning up the road as well. He saves that. So no second accident, but a second incident as a couple of cars nearly got turned around. And good luck. Good thing it's the sim, and we can just get the data instantly on who was running where, because if you had to review video on who has to go where after that one, good luck. That was messy in turn 3.
It was messy, and this restart has a chance to be messy for the leader, Minter. I think for him, it's all about picking a lane. He needs to either pick bottom or pick top when they get going, because fresh tires to the outside, fresh tires behind, they're going to want to take a 3 wide.
Well, let's set the scene for how we got to where we are here tonight at Phoenix Raceway. The playoffs started a couple of weeks ago at Michigan International Speedway. That was the opening round of the playoffs. A couple of bonus points handed out here and there to drivers who got race wins in the regular season. And even though it's a very different kind of track compared to here at Phoenix, a lot of the same storylines, Blake. A lot of 3-4 wide, used at every inch of that 2-mile D-shaped oval. It was another wild one, as they seemingly always are, consequential for some drivers. The drivers who finished the regular season standings inside of the top 4, none of them got a top 10 in the playoff opener at Michigan, so it was a tough go for them.
Yes, it was, and this was the race that really set up everything in the postseason. When we went to Dover, everything was pretty straightforward. We saw a lot of really strong performances out of our playoff drivers, but this is really where this round completely got shaken up, particularly at the end of this race. You see Bobby Zielinski, some of the issues that he had a little bit earlier, Tucker Minter, Casey Kerwin, several drivers who are up front contending for their shot at a championship right now were involved in this one. And at the end of it all, Garrett Lowe, who has just had a little bit of a horseshoe, I guess you could say, these last couple of weeks, these last couple of months, was able to win his way into the championship finale. And lucky for him, he's had a month where he hasn't had to worry about where he's run. He's had a month to focus on Homestead, doesn't care where he finishes tonight. It's all about what he can do when he gets to Homestead here in 2 weeks.
You're going to have nearly 41 days between locking himself into the championship 4 with that win at Michigan and actually having to compete for it in a couple of weeks on September the 26th. And of course, 2 weeks ago, I should say, Nick Ottinger got the race win at Dover to lock himself in. Those are still the only 2 drivers who are safe and who know they will fight for the championship 4. Again, playoff cars occupy every single spot in the top 9. All of them looking for an opportunity to win their way in. That includes Minter, Zielinski, and Kerwin. Remember, Minter on 50-lap older tires than all the cars around him, but it'll have the benefit of being the control car. It's going to be a natural green-white checker finish coming to 2 laps to go. And the Logitech G120. Minter goes early. It's a decent enough start. 2 laps to go as Kerwin goes to the inside of Zielinski for second.
The great jump out of the restart zone will give Minter both lanes to work with in the middle of 1 of 2. The question is, can he carry the momentum off? Good for him. Side by side behind is going to give him a little bit of breathing room.
95 of the 18 beating off each other. There's contact for the race lead, but there's a caution. Kerwin, though, spins and saves the car. So the yellow is before the white flag. And as the yellow came out, Kerwin made contact with the left rear of Tucker Minter, almost spun the car out. Where will the 95 be scored? I think he'll maintain second.
I believe he will. Again, the caution came out further back. Kerwin saved it, but wasn't involved in the caution. The problem is he probably just destroyed whatever feel good that he had in his right rear tire. So we'll see if Kerwin can get it cooled down, try to get ready for this next restart. But Tucker Minter, I mean, this was just about, he can kind of maintain the lead through 1 and 2 after that restart jump, but it's going to be getting into turn 3 where the fresh tires are really going to eat him up. And he got lucky that caution came out, because I think coming to the line, he was likely going to lose the lead and probably wouldn't have had a shot to get it back. We'll take one more look at what happened.
Let's watch the wreck first. There's the contact. The 45's into the outside wall, and at that point, they keep it going, and then just kind of the mess continues. Car nearly spin it on the inside, and that's a tough look for the 36 Mobil 1 machine, unfortunately, into the inside wall. So that's what brings out the yellow. Yellow's out at this point. And then Kerwin goes to make the move, make contact with Minter, and he's going to owe the 10 a steak dinner for not running him over. He was so vulnerable in the middle of the track. It was great driving by Steven Wilson to not get into him. And Casey Kerwin will maintain P2 and a really good shot at going to the championship 4 with that save right there.
You know, Casey Kerwin on his stream, when he often, as he very often does, wins some NIS races, he'll go just kind of drifting the car for fun through 1 and 2. That's where all of that practice comes into play right there. Transitioning between the banking and the corner and the apron. Wilson obviously did a great job to keep it off of him, but that's where all that practice pays off. Kerwin was able to save that. Those are the type of moves, Evan, that really prove that these drivers are the best in the world. There's 99% of iRacers, they get put in that position, they're looping the car, they're overcorrecting, they're making a mistake. But these guys, that's why they are so talented.
I think I once said 99 times out of 10, that's a wreck, and I think I'll bring those ratios and fractions back for this one because most people are going to lose that race car. It's an impressive save. Again, playoff cars occupying 9 of the top 10 positions. Steve, we talk again, you brought it up, about eNASCAR overtime. We see it once more, 3 attempts to finish this thing under green. We got to get to the white flag, though, for this race to be official. Notably, that's what we did not do on that last one, and that'll be the key is, you know, how many times does Tucker Minter have to do this song and dance, and can he hold on for 2 straight laps? He got as good of a jump as I think he could have got on the last one. He had the benefit of the cars behind him running into each other, and even then, he was getting teed up by the end of the first lap.
He was, but I think he made the white flag. So I say that because the white flag can't end it. You know, if we see the white and then a yellow, now how long past the white was he going to be, you know, the leader of the race? I don't know. I think at this point, it's all about that same great acceleration out of the restart zone. He can only drive the tires for as much grip as they have in them. I think his best friend right here, as crazy as it sounds, might be the 18 of Zielinski. He needs him to roll up next to that 95. He needs those two to get side by side.
They had no issues, Blake, getting together last time. I don't suspect if Bobby gets next to Casey this time, he'll be shy about it either.
Well, don't forget, I mean, you have Wilson, who is going to be in a precarious position depending on how these drivers shake out. Jordy Lopez Jr. looks like he's not in a position where points are going to be enough for him. Michael Conti needs a win to get in. There's a lot going on behind Tucker Minter, but again, how good of a restart can he get? How much of a lead can he build up off of turn 2? We'll see here.
Remember, Wilson second and 5th right now. I think if he can maintain, he points his way in no matter who wins this thing. We're going to find out, though. It's attempt number 1 at eNASCAR overtime. Green flag in the air. It's a good jump for Minter. Kerwin still second, but look on the inside. Here comes Zielinski with help from Wilson, who looks to the inside.
Minter's got exactly what he wants behind him, side by side. They're kind of bouncing off one another, and he gets another crash in the back. Caution's out. Vicente Salas once again. Tucker Minter might pull this off if they can keep crashing behind him. I can't believe it.
Yeah, he needs that about 2 more times, Steve. I think getting the quick yellows and running out of green-white checkers may be his best option here as this wreck comes in about the 20s. We'll get a second look in a moment.
Yeah, I think it's his best option. The other thing is, it's got to be hurting the tires behind him. You know, normally the more you heat cycle tires, you know, warm them up, cool them down, they start to average. And the extra laps, while still a disadvantage, become less and less of a disadvantage. Now, the other issue he has, though, is how quickly is he emptying his bag of tricks on the restart. He's got 2 great jumps back-to-back. You know, are Casey Kerwin, is Zelensky starting to get a little bit of the timing down to what he's doing to get such a good jump?
Well, let's look back at the incident. The focus point here going to be around the 55 car right there of Vicente Salas, 25th position. And Blake, it comes down to not the dogleg itself, but what happens after the dogleg.
You can see some of these drivers, I believe that's Cody Bias up there who had an issue. And yeah, Salas just got in the corner really deep, got into the back of the 48 car, kind of washes back up the field as he tries to overcorrect. And again, it kind of harkens back to what we saw earlier with some of the drivers that were battling up front, how hard it was, how clean it was between some of your top 3. But, I mean, I'll be honest, this is kind of what we've seen a lot in this series when we have these late race restarts, that we see a lot of these drivers in the back of the field that are just fighting for everything. We talked about the relegation, all these drivers are fighting for. But you would hope that that respect would kind of trickle throughout the field, but it's just something with how much these drivers are fighting for, how much is on the line, how difficult it is to make passes in this series with how good everybody is. This is kind of what we've come to expect in this series, at least for now.
And again, if you're taking notes at home, this will move to attempt number 2 of 3. We think maybe Minter's best bet is to get 2 more quick yellows and simply run out the green flag laps and run out the clock with an opportunity to win this race. Again, if he gets to the white flag, normally that's the saving grace for the car up front. But in this case, on the older tires, I don't know if he wants things to get that far. Remember, if we get to the white, this race will end under green no matter what, no matter how ugly things get after the white flag. If we get there, we're going green all the way. And like we've talked about the road to get here, we covered the highlights for the Michigan International Speedway, and now we wind it back to the Monster Mile and Dover just 2 weeks ago. 120 laps there, and a lot of what we've seen tonight, a lot of big critical moments, some wrecks, and again, playoff defining moments for some of the cars with the red numbers.
Well, this is where I joined Blake on the broadcast, and you guys welcomed me into the season, and it didn't disappoint. I think what impressed me the most is not just that Ottinger showed up once again to win the race. That's something we've seen time and time again. But Garrett Lowe, after winning the week or the race before, I thought he was going to have 0 prep or time in at Dover, but came back to run good in this race. And really the playoff drives once again didn't disappoint. I think they learned from Michigan, Blake. They learned how much a mistake will set you back, and we saw a few of them stack it in near the front.
And every single race means so much. And we kind of seen the same thing play out that we have tonight, right? You can see Garrett Lowe was up front through a little bit of strategy. Unfortunately, this is what put Bobby Zelensky kind of in that must-win scenario. Of course, at the end of it all, though, you could see Nick Ottinger was able to make some moves on these late restarts and find himself in the right position, just as Minter has tonight, that perhaps he can get the job done if we continue to have some of these late race restarts.
Ottinger got the win and get bounced back from a poor result at the Michigan International Speedway. He finished first. It was Steven Wilson with his second straight P2 finish in second. And the Michigan winner from the prior race, Garrett Lowe, coming home in third at Dover. So we'll go again for attempt number 2 at eNASCAR overtime. Green flag in the air. It's another good jump for Minter, but will he get help in a battle for second? Kerwin clear for P2.
It's not going to help him. He needed those two to be side by side behind him. For right now, it's enough to hang on. Lowe trying to make a move, but Kerwin's going to have a big run down the backstretch. How low does Minter go to block? He's going to block Kerwin all the way down to the wall on the backstretch.
Caution comes out as they were 4 wide for the race lead. And I believe Tucker Minter will be scored as the leader again. It was all falling apart in 3. He went down to the inside, Steve, to throw the biggest block you've seen on the 95. Kerwin said, fine, I'll take the top. And then the 33 missed the corner. It was a wide open red carpet runway for Bobby Zelensky, and then the yellow before he could snatch it.
I hate blocks, but what I will say is it was a singular block. You know, in a lot of forms of motorsports, you can block one way, one time, and that is what Minter did. To your point, Blake and Evan, he blocked to the bottom, all the way to the bottom, forced the 95 to the top, entered the corner, but at such a straight angle, the 18 kind of snuck through. It's really just the timing of when the yellow. Crazy timing. Let's see exactly what brought this out.
Yeah, the wreck itself pretty important because it happened towards the front of the field. You can see that's Wilson getting sideways. Remember, he's been the most consistent. He just needed to maintain. He avoids it, and it's the 25 into the outside wall. Now, not what Nick Ottinger wanted, but again, context, race winner from 2 weeks ago. That doesn't matter at all to the Logitech Chevrolet. The bigger ripple is maybe some of the positions it may have cost the cars around that. I mentioned Wilson had a bit of a bobble. There's your live points. With the 33 in the lead, I said the 10 would be good if he held. He is still good, but by only 5. He can't afford those sketchy moments. And by the way, the car behind him, the 3 of Jordy Lopez, 5 points to the negative right now, is ahead of Stephen Wilson on the racetrack. So he's got more to gain.
Well, you know what that tells me, Evan? That every single driver that is directly behind Tucker Minter, they all are after the same thing that 33 car needs. He needs a win to advance. Kerwin's not going to be able to do it on points. He's running in second right now unless something were to happen to Stephen Wilson and Jordy Lopez. And again, we talked earlier about how upset Tucker Minter was when everybody else pit. I can't imagine the nerves and what his heart rate is right now. But if he can pull this off, and again, it's through no fault of his own. He's doing everything he needs to do. He's thrown blocks. He's barely had the lead every time they go into 3 and 4. And I know that this isn't how we want to see this race play out. But if he can take this strategy and somehow win this race, I mean, it's got to be the most nerve-wracking 20 laps or so of his life if he were able to pull it off.
Well, the only counter I have now is, you know, race how you've been raced.
Yes.
And I think the 33 didn't do anything wrong, but that was not the last overtime. So now the question is on what will be our third and final overtime, with Kerwin knows he won't have another shot. Zielinski knows he won't have another shot. And Curran was just run basically all the way to the inside wall down the backstretch. What is his patience level if he does have a run? If he finds the left rear quarter panel, I don't think he spins the 33, but we saw earlier how clean he raced the 18. Never took an extra foot in the middle of the corner. If I'm Kerwin and I can get to your door, I'm going to take at least half of your lane, right? It's going to be a lot more aggressive and make sure that I have the best angle for corner exit.
And the biggest thing here is there is no setting it up. Casey Kerwin does not have 2 laps to set it up. The yellow comes out, it is done. That could happen 3 seconds off of the restart. It could happen 20 seconds. It could happen in 2 laps when the checkered flag flies. But there is no timeline now for Casey Kerwin to make a move. This is the 3rd and final attempt at eNASCAR overtime here from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. The pace car bows out once more. Tucker Minter trying to outlast on the old tires. He'll be the inside car on the front row as the 95 at Casey Kerwin looks to match. Zielinski low. They watch on from row number 2. Green flying in the air. There's contact already, and Kerwin's going to get a little bit loose. Minter gains the advantage.
That's exactly what Minter needed. Not a great start for Kerwin. They're going to be side by side behind him. Garrett Lowe lifted for Kerwin there to let him back up. But Minter, is he going to have room? They're going to be side by side behind him. 3 and 4 wide throughout the field. Does something happen here on the backstretch?
Can't block them both. Goes to the inside. Zielinski gives him the bump and run. Caution flag flies as they were side by side before the white flag. This race is over, and I think by a few feet, Tucker Minter scored as the leader at the moment of caution, will win this Logitech G120 and advance to the championship 4 in his rookie campaign. I mean, a half second later, and that was the second time, by the way, in overtime, that Bobby Zielinski was about a half a second away from taking the race lead in turn 3, and as the only car really to stay out Somehow, some way, Tucker Minter has done it. It's his third race win of 2023. Tucker Minter wins at Phoenix, and he'll be racing at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks for $100,000.
And Minter hangs on. Again, you just have to wonder about the heartbreak for the rest of the field. But Tucker, how were you able to pull that off, my man?
Man, I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, everybody, Team Dylan, Jordy and I, and everyone with Altus, we had such a great car, and I kind of put it together in qualifying, kind of didn't. And then the race, I was just like, I got to execute, I got to be there. And when I was kind of stuck behind Nick. We had such an awesome battle. And then we got shuffled back again. And then I drove past Casey, and I was just I was watching the laps tick away, and I was like, man, I know that a caution's coming. I was telling Chris, my crew chief, my spotter Robert, that we just got to have a plan, and we're going to stick with it, and we're going to make our peace with it. And we decided if there was a caution with 10 to go, we weren't going to pit. And that was right when the caution came out, and I made my peace with it. I was frustrated. I don't know if the camera caught it when everybody pit behind me, but just did everything I could to time the restarts the best I could, and then just got very fortunate with the cautions being timed right when I needed them, really like 3 times. I was 3 wide for the lead trying to give it away, but man, I just can't say enough about everybody around me. It is just so awesome.
Tucker, we're not going to hold you up any longer. Go in the front straightaway. Go have your Coca-Cola winning moment.
No stranger to victory lane. It's his third race win this season, and for the rookie, third race win of his career. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and 3 different playoff drivers win the 3 races in the round of 10. He joins Nick Ottinger and Garrett Lowe in the championship 4. Congratulations to Tucker Minter and the number 33 Team Dylan Esports team. And in the end, maybe not a fan of the call when it happened, Steve, but he was able to outlast the Yellows by margin after margin to get the job done.
Outlast the Yellows with some great moves, some great defensive blocks. A little lucky with the Yellows, you can't lie, but in the end, the move of the race has to be this restart here. Continued to get great jumps out of the restart zone. That's the key, right? He gave himself a chance to get lucky. That's what racing's all about. And for the 33, scary pit call moves all the way to victory lane.
And watch how many times the battle for second slows themselves down, right? They're way faster than the 33. They're closing here to the bumper, but they're going to make contact once. That slows them down. They're going to make contact a second time as they come through the center. Finally, they're going to get there eventually, and he can only block 1 lane. He decides to go low. Zelensky, clean move, puts the bumper to him, moves the 33. It's his until it wasn't. If they had gotten there, he was going to have an opportunity to clear for the race lead. Instead, just when he got alongside his door, the yellow flag came out again, at least the second time in those 3 restart overtime attempts where we were side by side for the lead at the moment of yellow. Again, you're talking a fraction of a second earlier, a fraction of a second later. That run order is different, but Tucker Minter, the race leader, when it's all said and done. We're going to continue to talk with some of our top finishers here. Bobby Zelensky gets that P2. Steve, you've got his reaction.
Well, Bobby, I don't know what it is about you and Phoenix, always fast, never lucky. Talk about those final 3 restarts. You had a chance. You just needed for just racing. Less yellow flags. I think you had a great chance.
I get like twice there at the last 2, I think, restarts. Like, I'm under Tucker. He's out of here. I'm going. And if anybody's on my outside in turn 1 on the white flag, they're getting sent up the track. Like, that's just kind of the racing tonight. Gosh, man, I just did not have luck on my side this playoffs. Just one bad thing happens in Michigan. It kind of puts us behind. We have to win today, and we were flying. I was like running 3rd on oldest dang tires. So, man, if that last caution didn't come out, I'm pretty sure I would have won. Oh my gosh, yeah, it sucks to miss the final with this much speed. That's just tough. Like, what are you gonna do about people in the back racing for nothing? Yeah, I guess they're racing for something maybe, but it just sucks that they're just so aggressive for last, I guess, and kind of ruined the race there.
Well, in the end, a 3-win year is nothing to hang your head about. I know you have been a consistent fixture in that championship 4, and it was, I'll call it a foot from being a consistent fixture again. Great race. I know you'll be back and give it another run next year, and you still got the last race. You can still go to victory lane, even though it may not have a championship attached. We're going to be excited to watch it.
That would suck so bad if I won Homestead this time. Like, I would be just mad. But thanks to all our partners this year, Joker's Racing, VRS on the car today, Interstate Batteries. Like, yeah, great year, 3 wins. Just sometimes you just have a little too much unfortunate luck in the playoffs. And yeah, I'm sad.
Understand. Well, a great second place run for Bobby Zielinski, and for the third place finisher, Casey Kerwin. We've seen him win in the biggest moments. And today, Casey, you had a shot. You were in it. I'm going to give you the cleanest driver award. Early in the race, you had some fresher tires, man. You were side by side forever. Which kind of seemed to burn your stuff up, let Minter get by you, and then he stays out. When you saw him stay out, did you think it was only a matter of time until the new tires got him?
Yeah, if we could have actually gotten some laps, yeah, I think we definitely would have. If we actually got a lap in and made 2 laps, I don't think he would have been able to hold on. Even with the amount of yellows we had to keep kind of cooling his stuff off, he was still a lot slower than us. So, but I mean, it worked out. He made a good call. He deserved the win either way, right? Like he absolutely yarded me after he passed us. So he was definitely the rightful winner. But yeah, it was just disappointing, man. I felt like we did everything we could. It's a really tough track to pass at. We qualify bad every week, and to be able to be even in that position was I felt really proud of. And yeah, I just felt like we had a really good shot at it. I don't know who was going to get it between me and Bobby, but yeah, it was going to be chaotic either way, obviously. But I wish we could have at least just gotten a shot, and people in 25th realize it's not worth it back there. But yeah, unfortunate just the way it worked out. But like Bobby said earlier, it's still a great year. 2 wins, most wins I've had in a season. 3 if you include the Clash, and ran up front and had a shot at it again. That's really all you can ask. And yeah, it just didn't really work out. And yeah, but thanks to XSET and everyone that supports us again this year, and had a great year and still got a shot to fight for 5th, I think, at Homestead. So we'll try and go do that.
Well, if you look to your right and you see that championship trophy from a year ago, it's got to make it feel a little bit better. I know you wanted to come back and try to defend, but it was a super entertaining race, and to see a smile on your face just shows how great you guys are as race car drivers. It's been fun to watch.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Well, those are the instant reactions from our top 3 finishers. We appreciate them giving us an opportunity to talk. And again, the reflection from Zielinski and Kerwin, who will not make it to the championship 4. We take a look at our full race results brought to you by Coca-Cola. It is all playoff cars inside of the top 7. Notably, Tucker Minter becomes the 3rd different race winner this round and advances to the championship 4, which means Zielinski, Kerwin, Lopez, Wilson, Conti all come up short of the win. One of those names, though, in on points. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. And as we get to the second page as well, Corey Vincent gets a good 9th place finish out of this one. The likes of Zach Novak up 25 spots for a good finish. This was the midfield, Blake, which was just about as cutthroat as the battle for the lead was.
It really was. And throughout the field, and again, with so much going on late in this race, you can see the shakeup and how many drivers who were fighting for that relegation line are going to be feeling it and be in a pretty precarious position when we get to Homestead, Miami in 2 weeks.
See, Ottinger falls down to 29th with the late race accident. He'll finish as the lowest running playoff competitor. 31 cars total finish on the lead lap. So let's talk about your Coca-Cola full race results. Let's look at the championship grid. We knew the race winners were in and through. Garrett Lowe, Nick Ottinger, and Tucker Minter advance courtesy of wins. And it is the consistency of Steven Wilson who locks him into the championship 4. He will join those other 3 in the battle for $100,000. Wilson put on an incredible run, Steve, these last 3 weeks. A P2, another P2, and a P6 here tonight. That's an incredible average to points his way in.
Well, let's remember, with 35 laps into the race, Steven Wilson was frustrated because his car was in an accident, but he continued to survive. And when you talk about surviving, here's what it's all about for the back of the field, right? The relegation standings. If you're in the top 20, you're invited back. Outside the top 20, you have to earn your spot back. And why not be tied? And why not be tied with Keegan Leahy, a name I never thought I would see in this position, currently holds the 20th spot.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't expecting to see the 2021 champ on that line again. And Blake, you hear the frustration from the top three, right? Frustrated that the guys in the 20s are wrecking. I get it. But they're fighting to stay in the series, right? Does that happen if that battle doesn't exist? Maybe sometimes, but maybe not as often, right? So you could understand the frustration with the battle for the lead going on and wrecks happening in the 20s, but I don't want to go to Road to Pro. I want every point I can get to stay in. And a lot of those names in the midfield are guys we're looking at on this list right here.
Well, again, look at how much talent we have in this series now, where Tucker Minter is going to be fighting for a championship. He's a rookie. Parker White is locked into the series next year as a rookie. So is Cozy. So much great talent is coming up through that Road to Pro ladder. You don't want to fall down in that Road to Pro ladder, because something like a Ray Alfala situation could happen to those drivers. There's so much great talent being developed throughout this series and the Road to Pro ladder. But Evan, it is all about Homestead, Miami. What a fantastic venue to settle this 2023 championship.
We have seen 4 different tracks host the championship: Charlotte, Homestead, Texas, and Phoenix. And we go back to Homestead, Steve. This is not unfamiliar territory for us. No track has hosted the eNASCAR championship race more than Homestead. It was a staple on the Cup Series calendar for a while as well, and it is a fantastic venue to take in virtually. Well, we take it in person at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks' time.
It's a wonderful facility. It's a wonderful track, and I love the setting. The pressure of the championship race is real, and inviting these 4 drivers to the Hall of Fame, where the history of NASCAR sits, and we see the Cup drivers come. Dale Jr. shows up. I was there last year. I'll be there this year in person. It's so great, and it's really all about this, right? The emotion. It's fun to see them win on their webcam, but nothing changes seeing a driver win a championship in person.
We'll have drivers looking for returns to championship victory lane. Nick Ottinger, a 2020 series champion. He looks to return to the top of the mountain. It's been a long time, Blake, in this series since we've seen somebody have a chance to go for multiple championships. Only driver to have ever done that is Ray Alfala with his 4.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but, that's one of the things about this series that makes it so compelling is it's so hard to win these championships. Think of somebody like Michael Conti. He's not going to be chasing a championship this year after a remarkable regular season, got off on the wrong foot in Michigan and was just never able to recover. That's how difficult it is. You can be one of the fastest car, if not the fastest car all year long, but when it gets down to it, you have to execute in the playoffs, and unfortunately for him and so many others we've seen throughout the years, it can be a tough struggle here once you get to the postseason.
And we spend a lot of time, Steve, talking about comfort, right? Building your sim rig to suit you. Now those championship 4, it was a big point last year. I think it's going to be a big one this year. They're out of their element, right? They're going to do everything they can to bring their setup with them to the hall to replicate what they've been on for the last 17 rounds. But they're going to be listening to us. They're going to have a live audience in front of them. You got to think at least some of them are going to have some nerves get to them. And I love that element.
Oh, there's absolutely nerves. You get announced, your walk to the stage, you have to finally settle in and find a way to do it. And then the thing that Miami brings is what kind of race are we going to see? We saw tire decisions at Phoenix. Well, I can assure the viewer that tire decisions at Miami get even more difficult to make. It will be a limited amount of tires, and if you just don't put your last set on at the right time, it doesn't matter how much you've practiced. That decision can end your chances at a championship.
We saw how critical they were tonight, and we're going to see which decision crowns a $100,000 champion in 2 weeks' time. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Phoenix. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, eNASCAR, for Coca-Cola, our partners, and everybody behind the scenes for making this broadcast possible, and your broadcast team tonight. For Steve Letarte, Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you all for tuning in and congratulate your race winner tonight for the Phoenix Raceway. Tucker Minter, the rookie, is headed to the Championship 4. The road to $300,000 has one stop left, and it's in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, September the 26th, live from the NASCAR Hall of Fame, racing from the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. That race and every race of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until next time, congratulations to the Championship 4, and we'll see you at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2 weeks.